Welcome back to the Pesky Report. It's the minor league show here. It is award season, mid-season awards for 2026 here on this episode of the Pesky Report minor league show. Also, promotion news, and on top of that, a little kind of abbreviated MILB wraparound. And also, too, we've got some numbers from the draft. What are the signing bonuses? We'll cover all of that and more right here on this episode of the
Like, this is called the Pesky Report.
As always, this is episode 601 of the Pesky Report, brought to you by Beyond the Monster. This episode is also brought to you by TJ Stats, advanced MLB stats and tools, including pitcher summaries, prospect rankings, and live pitch data. Head on over to tjstats.ca and use code PESKY for 25% off your first month. That's code PESKY, PESKY, and it's tjstats.ca. It is not .com, it's .ca. Hunter, it's been a fun week. It's an interesting week here that we have to talk about. Obviously, not a big schedule in terms of games, but it is our minor league midseason awards here. We do it every year. We got some fan votes. We unfortunately did put it up a little bit late. I'm not gonna lie. I'll take responsibility for that. I was supposed to do it this past week. Totally forgot about it. May or not also had a couple life things kick in, but we're all good. We're moving on. We're keeping up and moving on here. So the people who did fill out our little award voting, you want to call it a sheet or whatever we're calling it, form. We appreciate it. For the end of season awards, we will have a little bit of a better timeline on it. I will promise that now. Watch me forget about it again. But no, in all seriousness, we'll get it out a little bit earlier next time. Try to get some more votes. With that, though, before we get into the kind of mid-season awards, we do have a couple things we do want to touch on. First thing, there's been a number of promotions across the minor leagues. I actually want to start with the first. Before we get to the promotions, I want to touch on the non-promotion. I shockingly haven't seen a lot of outrage over Franklin Arias not being promoted. I don't know if anyone's seen my tweet, but I kind of joked and mentioned that, it would kind of be nice. So I have a reason to go to Worcester on Friday that doesn't include the prime rib. Not because more so because I'm getting dental work this week and I don't know if I'm going to be able to eat the prime rib. So, I don't want a wasted Worcester trip. Like, come on. Not that it would really be wasted, but like if I can't eat the prime rib and there's like nothing like super exciting outside of the fact that Alan Castro's there, like, and he also doesn't play well when I'm there, as we've kind of found out so far this year. So don't want to jinx anything. He had a nice couple of games. We'll get to that soon. It was interesting. I think a little bit too helps when the big league teams won 13 games in a row. Pulls some of the eyeballs off of Arias, which, not gonna lie, is nice. Nice to see people not constantly. When I say not constantly clamoring over him, I more so mean that like it's not like all eyeballs are on him and like everything he does. And same thing with like an Anthony Ianson, who had one of the best starts of his pro career this week, which we'll get to as well. It's nice to see like a little bit of that spotlight kind of shift over to the big league team, because in some ways that's really the way it should be. And it, like I said, does help when they win 13 in a row. But it feels like the vibe has shifted just across White Sox social media as a whole. Which, like I said, makes sense. But it's not seeing the whole why isn't Arias in AAA stuff, because people's focus has changed. It's a nice reset, because there was a point, I want to say like mid-June before that Yankee series, where people are like, Arias needs to be the savior of the team, and it's like, okay, chill it out a little bit. And I've said it on the show multiple times. It's nice. It's nice to see. And there's no rush with them. I think that's something I mentioned. I thought it was going to happen during the All-Star break. Clearly didn't. But obviously, there's no rush. There's no point in rushing him. So I wanted to get that off my chest. Do you have anything else to add, Hunter?
Yeah. A couple weeks ago, I had said it, and I stick by it. I don't think it's coming until after the trade deadline. I don't think they see the need, and especially now that the team is good all of a sudden, I think that, I mean, especially then, they were going to be adding prospects, and at that point, it was going to kind of be like a more of a situation where they probably would have been like a, okay, well, they're going to be getting X amount of really good prospects, and Arias moves up to AAA and he gets closer to the majors, and someone that they brought in via trade is filling his spot in AA, and all this other stuff. And now it might be more of a case of he is moving up to AAA. I mean, maybe he is even still in AA after the trade deadline, or maybe he's moved at the trade deadline. I don't think he's moved at the trade deadline. I don't think that they are going to make that big of a splash at the trade deadline. I just don't think there's going to be that big of a player available at the trade deadline. I saw like
Deadline splash moves are also a little bit iffy as well.
Yeah, I think it was Ed Hand. I don't want to attribute Ed if it wasn't him, but I think it was pointed out like that. I don't remember exactly how he worded it. Hold on. It'll take me 2 seconds to find the tweet. But I'll just keep making my point while I do this. I don't think that we're going to see him moved anywhere until the trade deadline, simply because there's just no need to rush him. There's no need, like there's the Red Sox don't have a need to move him anywhere. Like, they already have the depth. Like, Nick Sogard's in AAA right now because they have too many bodies. Like, he was a good contributor in the majors, and they were like, all right, well, you can go back to AAA. Brett Harris was in the majors for a little bit. He's in AAA. Tyler McDonough's been phenomenal. He's in AAA. Like, they have a ton of bodies. And it's just like, I don't see why they would move up Franklin Arias. And like we saw Brian Abraham mention, AA is the level where they view prospects as getting the most development done. So it won't surprise me if we see Franklin Arias there for a couple more weeks. And yes, it was at hand. He said, how often do star players actually get moved at the deadline? Worth tempering your expectations with that answer in mind. And yeah, like, I feel like Red Sox fans do this to themselves often, where we get close to the deadline and the Red Sox are playing good, and Red Sox fans
make the big swing.
Yeah, Red Sox fans are suddenly like, we're going to get, Hunter Goodman and his 30 home runs.
He's also on the Rockies, if that tells you anything. Not being like he's not going to perform because he's on the Rockies. More so, the Rockies don't trade anyone because they're the Rockies. They're incompetent. Yeah. New front office. Dude, I'm not buying. Same thing with the Angels. Gonna be, as long as Artie Moreno's there, they're gonna be the Angels.
Yes, and I like Hunter Goodman, but it's like, yes, he is on the Rockies. That does make people a little bit phony. But it's just like, he's young, he's controllable, and it's like Red Sox fans are willing to sell the farm for someone, and they're doing it with Shea Langeliers, and they're doing it. And don't get me wrong, I would very much like Shea Langeliers. I'm not saying I wouldn't. But it's just like, all of a sudden Red Sox fans are like ready to sell the farm system for every single player. And then the trades, they did it with Joe Ryan last year. And don't get me wrong, I was all in on Joe Ryan. But it's like, then the trade deadline comes and goes, and it's like, all right, you got Luis Garcia, or not Luis Garcia. What was his name?
Yeah, Dustin May.
Yeah, but who am I trying to think of? The reliever. He came out the freaking Undertaker.
Hansel Robles.
Hansel Robles, yeah.
Who was actually kind of elite.
he was very good. But like and someone else said it. It actually might have been Ed again. Talked about how like people were underwhelmed with Kyle Schwarber. Like at the time, people weren't super thrilled about. They were like, Kyle Schwarber, really? And he ended up being phenomenal. But like every year at the deadline, Red Sox fans are super underwhelmed because the deadline comes around and Red Sox fans are like, we're gonna get X, Y, and Z, and it's like, man, it doesn't. And I get it. Like it's exciting, and the Red Sox are good, and so like I don't expect. I kind of went off on a very different tangent from what I was the point of Franklin Arias, but my point being, I don't think he's going to get traded.
Yeah.
So my point was that I wouldn't be shocked if he's still in AA for a little bit. And the tangent there was that I don't think he's going to get traded, but I also don't think I wouldn't be surprised if he's still in AA for a little bit.
I think also too, the other like missing piece I haven't really seen anyone mention. I think I've maybe seen like one person mentioning it, is kind of also your impending lockout as well.
Yes.
That could also potentially be a factor.
Yes. But I don't think that there's going to be a lot of like massive names on the trade market. So I don't expect the Red Sox to make these big swings. Like I keep seeing people be like, man, it was cool having Anthony Ianson in the system for a couple months. I don't think they're trading Anthony Ianson, man. And I'm not saying that as like I love Anthony Ianson. I'm the prospect guy. I don't think that there's a target that the Red Sox are going after. Like even the Red Sox front office, who in
the blue hell are you going to get for Anthony Ianson?
Exactly,
that's like going to be worth it.
Like the Red Sox front office, who it has been well documented, they are fighting for their lives. Like Craig Breslow has been fighting for his life. Like there has been a ton of rumors that like his ass is on the line. They have been very realistic that they have been saying like, hey, we're on a 13-game winning streak, but we still are being realistic about this season. Like every Red Sox fan is all of a sudden like, man, World Series time, here we go. And they're like, we're still going to be realistic about the season. Like that should tell you that they're not like, we're going to just trade all our best prospects. Like
they're not just going to go, or they're not just going to go and be like, we're going to take Francisco Lindor because he's Francisco Lindor.
Yes, exactly.
Like, because I think you also have like the other caveat to, yes, they're playing really well. People still forget this is like outside of like your Sonny Grays, and even like a Wilson Contreras, even like it's a very young team.
Yeah.
Like and very young.
And the other thing is the AL sucks, which makes everyone and no one a buyer and a seller. Like there's rumors that the Blue Jays want to buy. They're in last place in the AL East. So like if they're not selling, like there's not a lot of teams that you can buy from. So it's just like I don't think the Red Sox are going to be like these crazy like I do think they are going to buy, and I do think there are prospects that they're going to trade off, but like I don't think it's going to be some crazy like selling off there. Like I think it will be very reminiscent of last year to a better degree. Like they're going to get someone better than Dustin May from last season. Obviously he's been better this year, but like,
and obviously it might not be a starting pitcher because
but like their pitching's been phenomenal this year. But
like I think like your home run addition would be someone like Schwarber in the sense that it's not or like a Steve Pearce, like where it's not like it's not labeled as like a big move, but it does make or like Ian Kinsler, right? Think like Ian Kinsler in 2018 like was fine, but like it wasn't the Ian Kinsler of his prime either, right? But like they needed a second baseman and they went out and got Ian Kinsler, right? Like was he a world beater? No, I mean, but like valuable, right? I think of like Schwarber in the sense of like your best hope is you get someone maybe a little bit kind of floating under the radar that, gets to your team and then kind of pops off, right? In that sense, I'm not saying you're getting Schwarber in terms of like, I think too, we forget like Schwarber then versus Schwarber now is very different. Very, very different. That was a Schwarber that was like less than a year away. Less than a year like ahead, like not ahead. What's it? He had only been DFA'd less than a year ago. Like at that point, like
it's also very funny. He was like a home run guy at the time, and he just didn't hit for power for the Red Sox. Like like at that time, even like he was still very much a home run guy, and he just straight up didn't hit home runs for the Red Sox. Like he was just an on base guy. And it was just like, where the fuck is the power, dude? And then, like, don't get me wrong, he was still good for the Red Sox, but he just didn't hit home runs. And he's been a home run god since then. But
I mean, he like,
still love it. But that's
if
just
he hits
absurd.
60 homers this year, his 60th will be, I think, 400 on his career. Just, I mean, it just lining up perfectly for him to hit 60, like on the dot. I think you have to remember too, like the Royals should sell, they're 40 and 60. The Angels should. The thing with like a team like the Athletics is like they're a young team. Like they don't have like a ton of like do they trade Shea Langeliers? I don't why. Right? They're also gonna be moving to Vegas in a couple of years. Like, you think they want to move one of their better like players just for the sake of selling when they're gonna be moving to Vegas and are actually going to have to attract fans to the ballpark? Like the Astros, they're 7 games under 500. They're still 4 games out. Only 4 games out, right? Like the Tigers, I'm assuming they're going to buy because just of the fact of Skubal, right? Skubal, Framber, Valdez, you sneak in, like that's a 1-2 that,
But like the issue is, even like you mentioned, the Royals are bad. Who do you want from the Royals?
Exactly.
If you're the Red Sox. Like
exactly.
Like the teams that would be sellers, I don't want people from a lot of these teams. So like the Royals are 20 games under 500 for a reason, man. like they're not giving you Bobby Witt.
It literally is finding the diamonds in the rough, or in some ways, or like it's like, yeah, we could take a middle reliever off of you. Like, we'll take a middle reliever, or we'll take a bench bat or something. Not like the Red Sox need it, but it's it's legitimately like, I don't know. I'm trying to like look at it like, if you want like another catcher on the 40-man, they have Luke Bailey as a backup catcher. Like, sir, I mean, like, I don't know, like I don't want to touch Michael Walker with a 10-foot pole. Even when he was with the Red Sox, I was never crazy about him.
I do think that, like, I think some people are saying it is a joke, but I do think there's a lot of truth to it, that the Red Sox are going to do like very minimal moves. And then there's going to be like that PR statement of like, our trade deadline acquisitions are Garrett Crochet and Roman Anthony. Like they're going to like trade for like a middle reliever. And then they're going to be like, those are our trade deadline acquisitions. And then like they'll both come back in like August, and it's like, cool, man.
Well, it's funny because like speaking of the deadline, like Jordan and I, once again, we're doing a live stream for the deadline. Swear to God, if we get another deadline where it's the Red Sox traded for a middle reliever. I mean, we had the 24 deadline that was bonkers, with like everyone and their mother getting traded. Last year was a little bit more tame. And league wide, it was a little bit more tame. But yeah, like I'm looking at the Royals, like
it was tame, but there was also it was tame, but there was also Fox lying and saying that the Red Sox traded for Joe Ryan.
Yeah. Also that, like I'm looking at the Royals, like Bubic has been out since May, right? Like, and you don't really need starting pitching either. And like, it's like, okay, like there's not really anything there, I guess. Like, I mean, it comes like Schreiber's going to be a free agent after this year if you really are that desperate for a reliever, but like I don't think so. I don't think they go that route, right? It is very oh, you want another old friend? I get Matt Strom's also there with his 7.24 ERA and 32 innings. Yeah, like a team like Royals, they're gonna sell, but like what is there? Like, a team like the Mets too. I mean, we just saw the Mets. Everyone's like, oh, Lindor, but like that is a horrible contract that I think you just want no business of. And then outside of that, for me, it kind of is difficult to see someone where it's like, yeah, they're a good fit. Like who are you like? Who are you gonna get that's gonna make you that much better? Like, you could probably make an argument for maybe a couple guys like Luke Weaver. Like they had Luke Weaver, like that could maybe be an interesting one. Just if you want to add like another guy who can be in the back end of the bullpen, kind of as like a setup man, like that makes sense. He's still going to have another year on his contract after this year, though. So it then comes down to whether or not the Mets are willing to part with that, right? But that's kind of like the pieces you're looking at. And when those are the kind of moves you're looking at, like you're not trading Arias or Hyanson, right? You're not going to. And even if the opportunity maybe came around, it feel to like go get a star kind of player and you got to move one of the two of them. That feels much more like an off-season thing. Even with an impending lockout, it feels much more like an off-season thing, right? Because you can be like, oh, because you don't really want. It's the whole like thing with like Jarren Duran. I'll even throw out like the thing with Jarren Duran where it's like people have wanted him traded for a while. I've been, I've said since 2023, it's like I don't love a guy whose speed is his main tool and expecting it to last long term. Especially to post 2024, I felt like this isn't gonna last. He's gonna regress. I didn't expect him to regress as much as he has. But like it's like, oh well, he doesn't really fit. He's been bad this year, and it's like you realize you're pretending like at the end of the day, like the other players still in some ways are gonna see him as 2024 Jarren Duran. And you might mess with the clubhouse if you move Jarren Duran, right? And whereas at least if you do it in the off season, you have the entire off season to figure out how the hell you're going to explain it in spring training, or figure out how your roster is going to work out. Or it very well might just be we have Roman Anthony and we have Cedon and Willier, and those are three outfielders, right? But with Roman being hurt, you don't have that luxury right now, and you're not sticking Massa out there because as much as I love Massa, he moves at the speed of a tortoise. We were hoping for that damn cycle. It was never going to happen with his speed. Love him, but I mean, to be fair, Benji Molina can hit a cycle at Fenway. I guess anyone can, but still, like odds.
I'm going to need you to relax on Massa.
The odds were no.
The man runs like a gazelle.
No, he's got impeccable form. But like it looks like he's in like 0.8 speed or 0.75 speed, but it is impeccable form. Whereas like you look at like it's funny because like you look at some guys who are fast and their running form is like looks ugly. If he just doesn't look good. And then Massa's got the most like picturesque running form ever, and it's just slow. But no, like back to like the whole like deadline thing, and like we kind of look at prospects and like who's gonna get traded or who might be available to be traded. You're probably gonna be looking at Rule 5 guys, right? And the Rule 5 is also different this year because if there ends up being teams might be willing to get a little bit riskier with the Rule 5 draft, because if there is a lockout, they don't have to be on your big league roster in 2027 if there's no big league season, right? So teams might be willing to get a little bit greedy with the Rule 5 draft and be like, yeah, we know this, this guy's never played above, we know this guy's only played half the season in AA, but you know what? We like him a lot, so we're going to just take him anyways. Or, I'm not saying what's going to happen, but like I could see maybe a little a savvy team that's banking on someone's upside that doesn't get protected being like, screw it. Why not? We might not even have a season in 2027. He could just potentially develop at home. We saw, we've seen guys go on the Rule 5 that we haven't expected to get taken as well, right? So like you're gonna see probably Rule 5 eligible guys get moved, a la like that Angels trade for Luis Garcia where they moved like 4 guys in that deal. You're gonna look at like guys who are just blocked, and by blocked I don't mean like, oh, like we have a it's not going to be like, oh, we have right now 8 starting pitchers on the big league team. I mean more so like kind of look at like the Stinson trade in the offseason to get Oviedo, where it's like, yeah, Stinson was clearly blocked by the outfield logjam at the big league level. That's kind of what you're looking at, I think, in terms of guys who are probably going to get traded. I don't see I just don't see a big trade happening too. It just doesn't. I mean, when did the Garrett Crochet trade happen? What in the off season, right? When did all the Wilson Contreras, Sonny Gray, etc. run down the list, right? Happened in the off season. When is like the last time the Red Sox have truly made a splash at the deadline? Like, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head when the last time they've truly made a splash at the deadline. Because even like 2018, it was like Steve Pearson like June, and then it was like Ian Kinsler and like a couple like supplementary people. It was nothing crazy. So I think also too, like, I'm not gonna say it's a seller's market this year, just because we don't really know how the market's gonna. There's still in the next 2 weeks, anything could happen realistically, but I don't want to be like it's a seller's market, but there just might not be a lot of teams selling, and that doesn't necessarily mean a seller's market. If all the teams that are selling have nothing to sell because they suck, really it's a market for nobody. So, also too, I also just want to throw out too, all like the mock trades that we see them every year. Can we keep Alan Castro out of them, please? Like, every single year, there's always mock trades. Also, too, love him, but Robbie Hyde is the biggest culprit of it, because he throws out mock trades a lot. Like I said, love his content, love what he does, but like, can we not include Alan Castro?
I never noticed that. Does he really put Alan Castro in him a lot? That's funny.
He does not in a lot, but like with the amount of mock trades he does, I haven't seen it as much this year, but like I know in past years it got a little bit egregious a couple of times where it's like, oh yeah, Alan Castro's got like 2.5 value on baseball trade value, so he's like the perfect like third piece in this trade, and I'm like, you couldn't have picked anybody else.
That's my issue with mock trades is people do the whole like they do that whole trade value thing, and a bunch of years ago I argued on Twitter about like the trade value, and I got yelled at because it was just like, oh, you value prospects too much. And I just like stopped arguing. I was like, all right, whatever. I don't care enough.
I like to think of it as like a reference where it's like, it gives you like, because I think the other thing, people get so tied in and looking at the main number that they give, which is like the median number, I think.
Yeah.
I think the median number. But like there's a low and a high range that they give as well. It's like, because I like also like where the Red Sox value Jared Duran's going to probably be in the high end of that range, most likely. Where the whatever team that might be looking to get Jaren Duran might value him on the low end of that range.
Yeah.
Right. So, but then like the person the Red Sox are getting back, both the teams might view differently. Like it's a good reference, right? Because
it's a good reference, but my issue is just
but you can't live and die by it.
Yeah. My issue is just like, it's just, I don't want to call anyone out, but like the play testy guys always do their who says no thing. And again, it's just, it's a lot of people who, whenever they post it, all the replies are a lot of people who just like hate prospects is the way I view it. Like all the people they're always just like, yeah, I'd do that in a heartbeat. And the one that almost got me to unretire from not responding was right before the World Baseball Classic. They posted one and it was like Ezequiel Tovar for Juan Valera, Justin Gonzalez, and like 2 other prospects. And then Ezequiel Tovar like hit a home run in the World Baseball Classic and everybody was like, yep, gotta do this. And I was like, this trade sucks. Who in their right mind would do this? And Ezequiel Tovar is like literally the worst hitter in baseball this year on the Rockies, which it's like, if you can't hit on the Rockies, you shouldn't be playing in single A, let alone in the majors.
To be fair, Tovar had a really good like 2024 that he just never built on.
Cool. He was good 3 years ago.
He's never built on in terms of the fact that like he's like he's an interesting case because like after 2024, like I legitimately thought he might be a top 10 like shortstop in baseball if he continues the way he's going.
But he didn't,
and he hasn't done it.
But he didn't.
It's the typical Rockies, right?
And it's just like I get it, and I like the exercise of like I'm not like genuinely I like that they do it, and I like the thought process in it. But it was just like everyone was just like,
what makes it
yeah,
annoying.
it just everyone was just like, yep. Why wouldn't you do this? And I was just like, man, I'm all for trading prospects for the right thing, but just like you're trading prospects for another prospect. Like he's not good. You guys just want him because he's in the majors. It just like,
I think
that's my issue when we get to the deadline is
people find the one item they want. They want that item that they're window shopping and they see that one item they really want. And they're like a little kid in a candy store.
But it's not even that they want
hyper
the item.
Fixated on it.
Yes, but also it's just that they want to trade prospects for anything. They're just like, why aren't we trading prospects? What are we? And it's like, you got to trade them for the right thing. You can't just make a trade to make a trade. I would rather not make a trade than trade away. Like, wouldn't people have rather not made a trade than traded for Dustin May last year? Like, wouldn't you rather still have those assets? Wouldn't you rather still have James Tibbs right now and have traded him in the offseason for something better?
So Earhart
or Earhart. Yeah. Like, wouldn't you rather have those assets right now and have them right now and trade them at this deadline for something better? Like, you don't want to just trade things to trade them. You trade them at the right time for the right thing. That's my issue is people
you also
get so fixated on trading prospects just to trade them.
Yeah.
I'm all for trading prospects for the right thing.
Yeah.
Just
for the right
trade
thing,
them
but also for the
please.
right thing at the right time.
Yes.
Like there's because like the Dustin May trade, the thing that killed it more than the fact it wasn't just what you gave up also came in play because of the time. That was like a last second deal at the deadline.
That was
because
1,000% a panic trade. That was
it was a panic trade. Well,
trade.
I don't know. Well, I'm not going to say panic trade, but it was a last second trade because they couldn't get Joe Ryan. And they were so hyper fixated, it seems like, on Joe Ryan that they thought they were going to get Joe Ryan and then they didn't. My hot take is that leak came from like a Red Sox person, someone in the org that thought they were going to get Joe Ryan and was like, hey, we might be getting Joe Ryan. Get a graphic ready just in case. And some doofus accidentally hit post instead of like put in the drafts. And that's how it happened. I legitimately that's my like take on how it happened. Because like after the Twins were like, they weren't even close. And the Red Sox were like, we felt like we were close on a couple deals that didn't go through. And it's like, what deal? We know. We know what deal you think you were close on. I think the other thing, but it does also come down to time, because the closer and closer you wait till the deadline, in some ways, like, that margin gets slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. And if the team selling isn't willing to budge on their asking price, you might, if you really want that player, you're gonna have to meet it, right? And a lot of time that leads to overpays. And the Red Sox, outside of the Dustin May trade, have generally done well at not falling for that kind of bait. Generally, like, even dating back to, like, post Dombrowski, right? Heim, and then now Breslow. Typically, they've been good at staying away from bait like that. But, they bid on it last year with Dustin May. Not, like I said, not as if they had much of a choice. They desperately needed a starting pitcher. And Dustin May was a body who could start games. Sometimes you get what you get and you can't get upset. But Arias isn't getting moved. Ian's not getting moved. Kyson Witherspoon's definitely not getting moved. Even like your Marcelo, people are so ready to get rid of Marcelo, and it's like, pump your brakes, people. It's like, chill out.
I saw an argument, I think it was on Reddit, of someone saying like, I don't know why I ever go on Reddit, because it's just it's Facebook for like slightly younger people. And it was just like, are we ready to say that Anthony Siegler should be the franchise second baseman over?
Oh no, this has been talks even on
over
Twitter
Marcelo
as well,
Meyer,
unlike the cuckoo corner Twitter as well.
And I was like, come on, man! Like, we're giving up on the 22-year-old because the 27-year-old guy had a good 2 weeks to start his career. I love Anthony Siegler. I think he's a gamer, but it's like, man, like, have we learned nothing
Play
from
the odds?
Have we
play
learned
the odds.
nothing from Dom Smith, from Abraham Toro, from literally every Linsanity run that we've ever seen, from Zue Lin? Like, what are we doing? Like, he's had a good couple weeks. He'll probably have a couple big moments. He might be a very good player for a little bit, but it's just like Nate Eaton had a good couple weeks. I'm not saying Marcelo Meyer is 100% going to be some superstar. It's just like, Red Sox fans do this to themselves. And then, like, he's already down to 250. Like, if in 2 weeks he's hitting 200, they're going to be screaming, why is this guy still in the lineup? And it's like, you do this to yourselves.
They did it with Mickey Gasper earlier in the
year. Exactly.
They've already done it this year with someone.
Yeah, thank you. That's the best example. I didn't even think of that one. Like
people
were saying that he should be the starting catcher for the rest of the year, and then a week later they were like, why is this guy even in the majors anymore?
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy. I think the other thing too is like, you also have it's a little bit too of like a little bit like the baseball way, I feel like, because like I was talking to my grandfather the other day, and he's like what's Chang hitting? I like Chang. And I'm like, well, he's hitting, what was he at that point? He's hitting like 280. I think he had like a 280 average in the big leagues, or 290 or something. And he's like, hey, he's pretty good. It's like, I wouldn't bring Story or Meyer back for well, he calls him Mayer. And I'm like, oh god. I'm like, here we go. I'm like, I wouldn't bring either of them back. He's playing well. I like him. And I'm like, he was hitting 250 in Worcester. Like, I love Sung Che Chang, but like, he was hitting 250 in Worcester. Like, that 290 ain't lasted in the big leagues. Love him. See, great person. Like, it's not. And as much as I sometimes despise Trevor Story, he can get on a heater. We've seen it happen. I don't like.
He did have a 30-30 season last year.
Yes, like Trevor Story. Literally, like, he got, like, I was a little bit peed off. He got an MLB The Show card. It was like 25-25 season. And I'm like, because I'm like, can we get a right-handed hitter hitting like Red Sox card that we don't have already? And I was hoping for someone, wasn't thinking like Trevor Story. I was like, can we get like a really cool Franklin Arias card or something? I don't know, or because the current Franklin Arias card is only an 88, and they pop a 97 Trevor Story, and I'm like, the fuck. I'm like, bro, what? But then you like the hot streaks Trevor Story can get on. He's the shortstop version of Jackie Bradley Jr. If Jackie Bradley Jr. hit right-handed and wasn't as good defensively, but like the offensive hot streaks were a lot hotter.
Yeah,
like more power filled, because it's one of the things with Trevor Story where he could come back and he could go 0 for 50 a la Chris Davis and it wouldn't surprise me. Or he could go 20 for 50 with about 10 homers and it wouldn't surprise me either. Like it's and the same thing with like Marcelo in some ways too, where it's like, could you argue maybe you want to give Celo a little bit more time in AAA? Maybe you make that argument, maybe not. I don't know if sending him AAA is the answer. I think in some ways too, a lot of people with Marcelo, and it's not really Marcelo's fault. I love Christian Campbell, but a lot of people are now like petrified by any big prospect because of what's going on with Christian Campbell's situation. And they're like, prospects don't pan out, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, ask that to like the Nationals with Juan Soto, or the Angels with Mike Trout, or the Royals with Bobby Witt Jr., or hell, the Blue Jays with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., or any team with any like Vladdy is like a great example because he had all the pedigree in the world as a prospect. He literally had a Hall of Fame father, and it didn't click right away for him. It took him a couple years. When it finally clicked, yeah, he became one of the best first basemen in baseball. Part of it was also moving him off of third base as well. But it's just because it's not immediate doesn't mean you lose faith in a guy either. And that also goes for in the minor leagues. Looking at a guy like Kyson Witherspoon, right? Just because it doesn't click immediately doesn't mean you lose faith. We've talked a lot about the kind of deadline stuff, and we went from promotions to deadline stuff and prospects. This is the midseason awards show, so it probably is a good time to kind of get into that before we go on for too long. Mm-hmm. So with the award show, it's not as lengthy as kind of our end of season awards, just because it's midseason, and if we did like best player in AA, like that is the most boring award ever at this point. Like it's Franklin Arias. Like, could we do a non-Franklin Arias category? Sure, but like you can make an argument you end up doing a non-this player at a couple different levels, and it doesn't really make sense. With that, though, we have 7 awards, and more sort of like quote-unquote general awards. So we have starter of the first half, which is also the non-Anthony Ianson division, because, once again, the obvious choice, right? Then we have reliever of the first half, slugger of the first half, base runner of the first half, defensive player of the first half, position player of the first half. That's the non-Franklin Arias division because, like, duh. Right. And then biggest surprise of the first half, and then comeback star. So those are our awards. We're going to kind of roll it off the top of our list and run it down. We're going to start with starter of the first half. I will hand it off to you, Hunter.
Do you have the numbers in front of you, or do I have them?
I have them in front of me.
Okay. I didn't know if you had them. So do you want to read the
so starter of the first half
first?
We'll give our votes and then we'll go to the fan vote.
Okay.
So start of the first half, the nominees were Blake Wehunt, Devin Futrell, Dylan Brown, and Leighton Finley. There is also a write-in option on all the questions, so if you wanted to write in someone else, you could. If you were voting, like I said, it'll be the same kind of thing for the end of season awards. It'll be, you'll have your list of options plus a write-in option. Hunter, starter of the first half, not named Anthony Ianson. Who do you have?
Yeah, this was a pretty tight race for me. I was going back and forth a little bit. Um, I thought that Dylan Brown was really strong for the most part. Um, Devin Futrell was phenomenal. He kind of had a bit of a hiccup right at the end there. He kind of stuttered right at the end. He also had a bad start to start the second half, but that does not count. Um, Blake Wehunt was fantastic basically all the way through. Um, he loses a couple points just because he missed a little bit of time. So he actually does not have the innings that some of the other ones do. I ended up going with Devin Futrell. He threw what helps him a little bit is he threw a couple innings to start the year in single A. We talked about it a little bit at the start of the year, just did not belong there. Made 2 appearances in single A, 9 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts. I mean, it was just absolutely absurd. And then just completely dominated in the first half in high A. Basically untouchable for 99% of the first half. Again, a couple rough starts to close it out, but a sub 3.5 ERA. Really just, I mean, he had a couple absolutely disgusting starts. Not like overpowering stuff, low 90s fastball, but good location. Really gross breaking stuff. 70, well, hold on. I can do the math. Let's do the math quick. Okay, he had 8 strikeouts in 5 1/3 innings. So 70 strikeouts in 65 2/3 innings. Did he have any walks in his last start? Man, I really should have fucking figured this out. 11 walks. Right? Did he have 12? Yeah, 11 walks in those innings. So like not really walking people. He did have a bit of a home run problem, but I mean, again, just like not walking people, striking out a ton of people. Just really like, I don't want to say an under the radar guy, but like with especially in Greenville with all those arms they had, like he got there when Anthony Ianson was still there. They had Kyson Witherspoon. They had they have Kyson Witherspoon. They have Marcus Phillips. And Devin Futrell has been like their guy. They have Dylan Brown. He had a start on June 23rd where he went 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, 12 strikeouts. The start before that was 7 innings, 2 hits, no walks, no runs, 5 strikeouts. Like that's just a disgusting 2-run or 2-start stretch. So he's been like the guy for them for most of the season. And yeah, it's the Red Sox are not short on pitching prospects, and Devin Futrell has been probably the most underrated, but definitely not the least dominant.
Yeah, this one was an interesting one. I kind of teetered back and forth between a couple guys. I ended up landing, and the innings are less for this guy in the minor leagues. But I felt I had to go with Jake Bennett. Also, too, because in some ways, so he's not going to be around for the end of season awards because he's with the big league team and pitching really well. So he's not really. I don't see him getting many more innings in the minor leagues to really, make a case for any minor league stuff. So with that, he had a 1.60 ERA and 39 1/3 innings. It's good. It's the numbers were really, really good. He has the third lowest ERA among pitchers with 20 plus innings in the minor leagues for the Red Sox so far this year, and one of them is Tommy Kahnle, who's above him. The only other person ahead of him is Anthony Ianson, who we labeled ineligible for the sake of him being too damn good. So I kind of was looking at it. Yes, only 39 and a third innings in the minor leagues. But he was so good in his time in the minor leagues. Also, I've seen him pitch 4 times this year. One time was in the big leagues, but still, I've seen him pitch 4 times this year. I felt like it was kind of fitting as well to give my vote for Jake Bennett. Moving on to the kind of viewer vote, whatever we want to call it. 54.5% of the vote went to Blake Wehunt. 36.4% of the vote went to Devin Futrell. And we had a write-in vote for Sadbiel Delzine. So, in that case, it is... Unfortunately, we don't have Jake here to break the tie. It is Futrell 1, Wehunt 1, and Bennett 1. I'm willing to say Futrell was my second pick. So, I say we give it to Futrell.
I'll take it.
So, Devin Futrell gets starter of the first half. Congratulations. There, unfortunately, we don't have a physical award to send your way, but pride. You get pride. You bragging rights. Sticking on the pitching side of things, we have our reliever of the first half, with the options being Jeddickson Paez, Eric Rivera, Wyatt Olds, and Steven Brooks. I'll bump it back over to you, Hunter. Who's your reliever of the first half?
Yeah, this one was pretty easy for me, honestly. I don't want to that I don't want to say that felt rude, but I mean everybody was pretty solid. But Jeddickson Paez is just kind of on a different level than everyone. The only thing going against him is that he's made 13 appearances this year and 5 of them were starts. So you could say he's almost disqualified, but I mean, over half of his appearances have been relief appearances, and he does have 2 saves. So I feel like that more than qualifies him to be a reliever. But a 3.65 ERA is, I believe, the best out of all the people in the conversation here. He's got a 1.95 batting average against. He has an absurd 0.81 whip, 40 strikeouts compared to just 4 walks in 37 innings. Yeah, it's the Jeddickson Paez that we've grown to know and love over the years. We've seen him come up through each level and just continue to be the same exact guy, even with him really only getting just like a tiny little bit of a tick more on his fastball. Like he's still just kind of throwing 91, 92, 93. But he's still finding ways to get a couple more strikeouts. You know, the K per 9 is up over 9 now. The walk per 9 is just disastrously low in the best possible way. And yeah, everything is working for him. It's really hard to not envision him having a really good major league career. There's a reason the White Sox took him in the Rule 5 and took a chance on him and tried to make it work, despite the fact that he had never even pitched in Double-A yet when they went for it. Obviously, they kind of gave up on it pretty quickly, but that's because it was way too soon. But they took a chance because they recognized that this is someone that will have a very long career. But yeah, he's been special this year. And I think that him coming out of the bullpen is not something I was expecting, just because I mean, he had been a starter basically his entire time in the system. But it's worked so well. And it's kind of helped him unlock a couple things. And I think it's the right move. I mean, just that kind of command out of the bullpen we've seen it be so valuable with guys like Chris Martin in the past. And it's been really nice for Portland. And yeah, it's just to me, this is just a pretty obvious one. You don't see that kind of command out of the bullpen in the minor leagues. Usually relievers in the minor leagues, usually that's like the big bugaboo is like, oh, this guy just can't find the strike zone. He's nasty. He racks up the strikeouts, but boy, is the ball going everywhere. And Paez has been the exact opposite. He's pinpoint, and it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, I totally agree on Paez. He's my pick. I do want to give a quick shout out though to Tyler Uberstein. I know he wasn't nominated, but he's an interesting case. He had a little bit of big league time. Thought he was going to start. He did start at the beginning of the year, but then with the big league time kind of popping in, and they've kept him in the bullpen really since then. So he's been what you would expect him to be in AAA this year. It's been no different. It's just the majority of his appearances have now come out of the bullpen instead of starting. But he's been no different than what you would expect from Tyler Uberstein in Worcester. But yeah, Paez is my pick. I'd kind of go everything you said about him is true. So Jackson Paez is going to be our reliever of the year. The fan voting, Paez and Wyatt Olds were tied with 5 votes apiece, and then Stephen Brooks also nabbed a vote. So that's kind of how the voting split out. So Paez, reliever of the year, pretty set in stone. Next up, slugger of the first half. The nominees were Brooks Brandon, Franklin Arias, Luke Heyman, and Yoelan Cespedes. A fun category because slugger can mean a couple of different things. It could just straight up mean home runs, but does it only mean home runs, right? Does it mean extra base hits? Does it, what does slugger mean? Is the slugger mean your traditional slugger where you think just a massive human being who hits the ball really hard? What is your definition of slugger? I think that kind of also falls into where this award goes. Hunter, I'll hand it to you. Who is your slugger of the first half?
Yeah, I felt bad because I didn't omit Franklin Arias from this one. But I didn't want to omit him from every award. But I felt like everyone deserved a little credit here. I mean, Yoelan Cespedes is having a hell of a year. He's already like doubled his home run total from last year. Luke Heyman's up to 16 home runs. Brooks Brandon has like 16 doubles or 17 doubles and like 15 home runs. But I mean, what Franklin Arias is doing in AA this year is just bonkers. He's got 17 doubles, 18 home runs, which is the same amount of homers he had in his entire career before the year. He's got over 50 RBIs, and he's hitting 320 something. It's got to be Franklin Arias. He's been more than anyone could have expected. He came into the year as like outside of a couple people ranking him higher. Most people had him as like a 50-ish prospect in baseball, and now he's kind of like firmly cemented as like a top 5-ish prospect to like everyone in the baseball world. And the main reason he was quote unquote so low is because he didn't really have power to his game. And I mean, he's clearly figured that out. So yeah, he's become a slugger. And yeah, he's earned that title. So yeah, he's got to be the slugger of the first half for me.
This one was an interesting word because I kind of, after mentioned it, it's like, what's your definition of slugger? Kind of shapes how you view this word works. I don't want to just go off, Arias has the most homers, right? I think where I lose, so I didn't pick Arias. I think where I lose Arias a little bit on this category, as much as he's he's led the team, led the organization in home runs, in the minor leagues, right? But I don't see Arias as like, when I say I don't see him as like a true slugger, when I think slugger, I think guy who's more like power over contact, whereas Arias is just an elite all around hitter at this point, right? He contact power does it all, right? So in that case, I want to give a shout out to Mason White. We've mentioned it before. Whenever he hits the ball in the air, I think it's a homer. Just you might as if you're a pitcher and you give up a fly ball to Mason White, you might as well just start asking the umpire for another ball. But I'm gonna go with Brooks Brannon. So he's got a 586 slug this season, which is only behind Ronnie Hernandez, who only has 155 plate appearances, Franklin Arias, and then Franklin Primera, who only has 189 plate appearances, and most of them coming in the complex league. So he's kind of right there neck and neck with Arias. His slugging percentage is only 7 points lower than Arias, but he has similar slugging percentage with a batting average that's about 45 points lower. And then also too with kind of that as well, Brandon's got 15 homers. He's still got the 17 doubles, right? Brandon feels a little bit more traditionally sluggerish, whereas Arias just feels like elite all-around hitter and just doing everything. So in terms of best slugger award, I went with Brooks Brannon. Obviously, I think we know where the fan vote's going to line up here. It's Franklin Arias. I think it's kind of obvious, right? Arias got 63% of the vote, 27% of the vote went to Luke Heyman, and then 9% of the vote went to Brooks Brannon. So Franklin Arias, slugger of the first half. I don't necessarily, it's not that I disagree with
I do
choice.
See your thought process on that, where it's like, you have like that definition of slugger. I was going more for just like Franklin Arias has done everything hitting wise this year, but I do like what you're thinking, like the true definition of slugger, like Frank Thomas, Jim Thome, David Ortiz, just like I'm going to hit the living piss out of the baseball, and that's what Brooks Brannon does. That's what Luke Heyman does. That's what Johan Fran Garcia does. That's I see what you're going for.
Yeah,
that's what Mason White does.
It doesn't make Franklin Arias a bad choice. Like the guy's like I said, he's leading the Red Sox organization for home runs in the minors, right? I think he's only trailing Wilson Contreras in terms of the organization as a whole, right? So it's not like Arias is a bad choice, right? He's still a very good choice. Just for me, thinking the kind of slugger category, it's like feels like a Brooks Brandon is a little bit more slugger fitting than if you're kind of going when I kind of think of a slugger. Like I said, it's not a knock on Arias. Like I said, I think if anything, it's actually more of a compliment to Arias in some ways, just because he's hitting for the power while also still having elite bat to ball skills, right? It's almost more of a compliment in some ways to Arias, where it's like you might be so good of an all around hitter at doing everything at the plate, where you lose a couple points of being a slugger because you're so good at putting the bat to the ball. Your contact skills are so good. But Franklin Arias, regardless, he wins slugger of the first half. Next up is base runner of the first half. The nominees are friend of the show, Andrew Zapata, friend of the show, Braden Ward, friend of the show, Nelly Taylor. We also have Stanley Tucker, which
friend of the show, Stanley Tucker. What are you doing?
I was building up to it.
The way you worded it sounded like you weren't going to say it.
I was going to say Stanley Tucker, which makes it a clean sweep.
Okay.
For friends of the show. I didn't want to go at it right away and give it away that it was a clean sweep.
I was like, wait a minute, was he not? I thought like you weren't part of that episode or something. I was going to say, wait a minute.
I don't know if I was, but I know it was. I know. Well, I mean, I wasn't. I don't know if I just didn't. I didn't want to like give it away right away. Okay, it's like it was like friend of the show, this person, friend of the show, this person, friend of the show, and Stanley Tucker. Clean sweep. You gotta give it that like momentary pause. Make him think.
Maybe. I promise there's no bias in the category there. We did not.
I mean,
do that on purpose.
They're all great business runners. They are. They really are. I was trying to build a little bit of a suspense of, do we have another friend of the show? Is it? Wait, is Stanley Tucker for that? Yes, he's a friend of the show. It is funny how it works out. With that though, base runner, base runner is an interesting one. I just want to throw that out real quick, because there's a couple you can look at it as stolen bases, but just stolen bases alone doesn't really take into effect base running IQ, and it's one of the weird ones where I feel like and this is not a knock on people who don't watch all the minor league games, because even I can't watch all the minor league games, and I'm on the show talking about them every week. We love you, Hunter. You're a maniac, though. But, but like even like if you're working in regular, like whether it's a 9-to-5 job or whatever it is, right? Your odds are you're not catching every minor league game, and even then, most people are watching one game at a time. They're not watching every single level every single time, right? So in that sense, like you might miss the great base running play that this player made, or their great base running IQ on show. You just didn't see it, right? And it is something that doesn't show up in the box score. So this is a ward where sometimes the stats don't always show it the best, just because there isn't really a great like base. There isn't a stat that says, oh, this guy's a great base runner above, the fact that he steals bases, right? So with that, Hunter, I'll hand it over to you. Who is your base runner of the first half?
Yeah, I do also want to just give a quick shout out to Skylar King, who finished the half with 27 stolen bases. He did not make the cut because Braden Ward has like 40, Andrew Zapata has like 40, Stanley Tucker has like 26 on like 27 attempts, and Nelly Taylor has like, I think he only has like 22, but he has it on like 24 attempts. And Nelly Taylor also did struggle mightily to get on base. So he's done it without really getting on base much. And also, like you said, there's more to base running than just stealing bases. And like Nelly Taylor, for example, is someone who is very good at legging out doubles when he probably shouldn't have gotten a double. That is something, Stanley Tucker is phenomenal at, legging out RBI or legging out infield singles, stretching a single into a double, stretching a double into a triple. Andrew Zapata has wowed me on the base paths this year. He has been so phenomenal. But no one is going to win this award outside of Braden Ward. He leads the world in stolen bases. He constantly gets on base by bunting. He constantly gets on base by bunting and reaching via air. He constantly is moving over because the pitcher is trying to pick him off and then throwing the ball away, or the catcher is trying to pick him off and creating an error, or even quote unquote successfully picking him off, but he moves over to second anyway, and then the ball's in the outfield and he's at third, or he gets home, or the amount of times he's stolen a base and then gotten home on an error, or just the amount of runs he's manufactured by himself has been absurd. I mean, last month, I think it was, he had like hold on, I'm going to look it up. I have his numbers right in front of me. Last 30 days. Braden Ward. It was something ridiculous. He hit like, you know what? Hold on. He was like he had like a quote unquote bad month, and he just it doesn't matter. He's still just constantly the best base runner in the organization. And it's really, I don't want to say it's not close, because again, like Andrew Zapata has been phenomenal. Everyone we've named has been phenomenal, but he's just been that good that he's just always going to be a step ahead of them. And it's just the bat is nothing spectacular or anything. But the speed is so special, and the base running is so special that he's going to make an impact in the majors at some point. Like it's just there's too much there. It's too much of a factor. I don't see how he's not going to do something. Okay, so here it is. In June, he only got on base at a 306 clip, and he still stole 11 bases. Like that's ridiculous. Like 306 on base percentage is not good. And like in a month, he still stole 11 bases. And again, that's not counting for the amount of times he got on base because of an error, or he did the whole thing with the errors on pickoffs, or he got triples, or legged out the extra bases, or again stole second and then went home from an error. The other day with 2 outs, he got a triple. When Worcester was down by a run. Like he's just constantly doing something. With 2 outs in the ninth, I should say. Like he's just constantly doing something on the bases to help Worcester win a game. It's just he's been such an amazing pickup for the Red Sox this year. And again, there's absolutely a world this year where this 27-year-old career minor leaguer who's hitting 244 in AAA with 3 homers and 20 RBIs, and we're almost at the end of July, there's absolutely a world where this guy is making winning plays in September for the Boston Red Sox in a playoff race. Like 100% a world where he's doing that for the Boston Red Sox, and it's just because he's that good on the base pass. So he's my pick, by the way. I don't know if I actually said that, but
while we're on the base running category, I'm giving a shout out to Masataka Yoshida, as you always do, because in his big league career, he's 15 for 15 on stolen base attempts. He's got 2 this year. He's also hitting right now. That's why it popped into my head. But he's always, I love shouting him out on a base running when talking about base running or base stealing, because he's never been thrown out in the big leagues. Speaking of, well, never or close to never being thrown out, I will give an actual legitimate shout out to Tyler McDonough. He's stolen 18 bases this year, and he's only been caught 1 time. But it's Braden Ward. There really isn't another answer. As Masa gets a single, look at our goated base stealer. 15 for 15. That is my favorite stat ever, that Masa just has never been caught stealing. Hey, I was going to say, it's not cheating if you don't get caught. It's not stealing if you don't get caught, and he's never stolen because he's such a great person.
Look at that smile and tell me he's ever done anything wrong. You can't.
Literally,
he's never done anything wrong.
Never. But yeah, it's Braden Ward. Braden Ward got 91% of the votes. Andres Zapata did get 9%, but it's Braden Ward. Duh. It felt like one of the bigger shoe-ins to me, in all honesty. Like I said, base running isn't just the stolen bases, and Braden Ward isn't just the stolen bases as well. That's the other thing. So it is going to go to Braden Ward. Clean sweep for Braden Ward, actually. And now next up, it will be.
Is that our first clean sweep?
Yes.
Technically, Jettix and Paez kind of. He split the vote for reliever. So no, that's our first clean sweep.
First actual clean sweep.
Yeah.
Next up is defensive player of the first half. The nominees are Abram Liendo, Marvin Alcantara, and then popping back up is Nelly Taylor and Stanley Tucker. Also, I just realized too, we might actually need to make a list of friends of the show because, like I was just scrolling through just to see if there was anyone I was missing. Is it bad that I forgot that I totally forgot we had Anthony Ianson on the show?
Yes, it's bad because that's a big one.
I mean, I wasn't on that episode, so I think that's also part of the reason
You
why.
weren't?
No, I don't think I was.
Not the brag. We were literally the first people to have him on.
Yeah, I was on the Marcus Phillips. I think I was on. Maybe I was on. Maybe
We
I
were
wasn't
also
on
the first
either of
people to
them.
have him on.
I don't know. I had a weird
No
like
way
off
you weren't
season.
on either.
I don't know if I was.
We had both of them on like.
I might have been on
a
one.
week
I don't
after
think
they
I was
were-
on the Ianson one. I'm pretty sure
Okay.
I wasn't on the Ianson one. But yeah, no, it's. I'm actually gonna double check that right now, because we do have it. But yeah, there are so many people that it's been like, and also like friends of the show, like too. Like, it also goes back a while, because we had JoJo Ingrassia on, but like that was like 2 years ago now. Like that was a while ago.
Who was
not
who was our first guest? Was it Christopher Troy or Hunter Dobbins? It was Christopher Troy, right?
I think it was CT. Yeah, I think it was CT. Pretty sure. Also, shout out CT. But yeah, no. Also, yeah, I'm trying to figure that out now. Actually, trying to find where those episodes are. But yeah, no, it was yeah, we've been lucky in that sense where we've had Mikey Romero on 3 times. We've had some good ones. I wasn't on the Marcus Phillips episode. It was just you and Jake. I was on the Holobets episode. Also may or may not have kind of half forgotten about it. I was on the Maximus Martin episode. Where is... Oh no, I was I on the Ianson show? I think I was on the... No, I was on the Ianson show.
Yeah, you were on Ianson.
Yeah. I don't remember that. You know, it was in September of last year. That it was a weird time. Maybe that's...
I'm not trying to brag, but we were on a run at one point, man.
We were.
Phillips, and then the next week was Holobets, then the next week was Martin, and then 2 weeks later was Brian Abraham, then the next week was Ianson.
You know what? That's probably why I don't remember.
And then 4 weeks later was Tyler Milliken. And then 2 weeks after that, like that was a run, man.
Yeah, you had Caleb Barry, which I wasn't on that show. And then
out Romero, like we went on a run. Stanley Tucker.
Yeah. There was a legitimate run.
We might be having more people on soon.
Subtle flex. But no, I think that's why I forgot about it. I think because there was it was like so many people in such a short period of time. Plus, it was also within like it wasn't like a standalone. It was within our regular MiLB show. But regardless, defensive player of the first half. Like I said, the nominees were Aubrey Liendo, Marvin Alcantara, Nelly Taylor, Stanley Tucker. Hunter, who's your defensive player of the first half?
Okay, so I'm not going to spoil the vote, but I will just say I'm a little disappointed. For one thing, just someone got 0 votes, which I mean, okay, very proud that someone got a lot of votes. But I feel like it should have been a little bit more spread out, just because I think everybody here is phenomenal defensively. But to me, I feel like people maybe aren't watching the highlights enough, because Abram Liendo is one of the best defensive third basemen I've ever seen in the minor leagues. Like he is making some of the best defensive highlights you'll ever watch.
He's a shortstop that got stuck at third base because he's not a top prospect, and they always prioritize top prospects.
Yes.
Essentially,
and
not like a bad shortstop, a good shortstop.
Yeah. He can play short, he can play second, but he's been like, I think he's only played third and second this year. But like he's played 90% third base this year. But like some of the plays he's made this year are just absolutely bonkers. But then it's not just the ridiculous plays. He's making like the ridiculous plays. He's making the hard plays. He's making the routine plays. He has ridiculous range. He has a phenomenal arm. He's accurate. He has great footwork. He has great glove work. Just everything that he can do, he does well. I think so what Marvin Alcantara has going for him is he is a phenomenal defender at like up the middle. He plays short, he plays second. I think what Stanley Tucker has going for him is he moves all around. He plays some second base, he plays some outfield. Nelly Taylor, I think outfield is kind of like the position in the minor leagues that gets the most love defensively. And don't get me wrong, Nelly Taylor also just a god defensively. He's literally won the Red Sox minor league defensive player of the year, deservedly so. We have recognized him. I think he's won our award 2 years in a row. But to me, it has to be Abram Leando at the moment. He has been the best defensive player week in and week out, day in and day out for the Portland Sea Dogs, for the entire system, but for the Portland Sea Dogs, which is a team that has Marvin Alcantara, that has Nelly Taylor, that has Miguel Blaze, that has Franklin Arias. Like, this is a ridiculous defensive team, and he stands out defensively literally every night. Like, if you ask any player on that team, if you ask, Iggy Suarez, if you ask any coach, if you ask one of the commentators, if you ask Emma Tiedemann, she would probably be like, hey, Abram Leando is the most fun person to watch. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I'm sure if you asked her, she would be like, he is phenomenal. Like, he's just been that awesome to watch. It's got to be Abram Leando.
So this is an award, once again, kind of similar to base stealing, where if you don't watch all the games, it can be sometimes hard to like understand just on the basis of like, well, defense is also a tough thing in the minor leagues because we don't really have defensive metrics, and it's also like sometimes you get the Sadon effect, which is Sadon is so good. Like, if you're watching a Red Sox game on TV, Sadon is so good where sometimes it looks like he like just jogs to a ball, and it's like 99%, like, unless it's like PCA or like, maybe one or two other guys, they're having to full layout just to even have a chance at it, right?
He'll make a catch that looks casual, and then like Milliken will post it, and he'll be like, "This had a 12% catch probability," and it's like, "Oh, what?"
It's like, "Oh yeah, Sadon's obscene." And not to take away from Orlando, but I am kind of a sucker for outfield defense.
That's what I'm saying, man. I get it. I'm
a sucker for outfield defense. I think there's a little bit too, a little bit of that for me comes from the fact of like when I was playing baseball, like I want like late in like Little League, kind of, well, or like just after Little League when you kind of hit the big fields for the first time, a lot of people didn't want to play outfield because it was still seen as like you'd put your crappy players in the outfield. And I was always the type of person where I'm like, I'll go play outfield. Like, let me go show off out there. Like, come on. Because I always got like good reads off the bat. So like, I was like, I'll go play the outfield. So I don't mind. It's actually funny. When I was 13, I was on the 13-14 All-Star team in my Little League. And I was probably like the second or third slowest kid on that team. Yet I played center field a good like half of the time. I flipped between center field and second base. And the only time I didn't play center field was when one of our we had a kid who was left-handed, and he could only pitch, play first or center field. So whenever he was pitching or at first base, they chucked me in center field. And I was like the second or third slowest kid on the team, but I could play center field. And so in that, I've always kind of had a love for outfield defense. So I'm going with Nelly Taylor. There's something to, like, I think too, like, Nelly in some ways, not the same level as Sadon, obviously. He also too, sometimes if you're watching a game, like, he will have some of those plays where it's like, you know, we don't really know how difficult of a play it might have been just because he can be so good out there. Where, not that Abram Liendo doesn't do that in the infield, but it's a little bit harder to have that masking effect in the infield, just because if there's a fly ball that hangs up in the air for 6 seconds, Nelly Taylor has 6 seconds to make an amazing jump on the ball and go chase it down. Whereas Abram Liendo on a diving play literally might just have a step and a dive. Right. So I feel like you miss out a little bit on the masking effect in the outfield. Like, this isn't me saying Abram Liendo's not as good of a defender as it seemed. Like, no, this is like picking hairs. I feel like it's a little bit apples to oranges, right? And truly, without defensive metrics, it's hard to fully compare, right? But it is kind of, one or the other. What do you kind of prefer? I'm picking Nelly Taylor. Also, too, I think it does kind of speak a little bit to the fact that he has won this award multiple times before, especially at the end of season. I think it kind of shows the pedigree just in that. So I'm going with Nelly Taylor. I think the fan vote kind of can show with the fact that he has won this award now multiple times.
Yeah.
And Nelly Taylor got 63% of the vote. 27% of the vote went to Abram Liendo. 9% of the vote went to Marvin Alcantara. Like I said, this is like splitting hairs. It is, like I said, especially without defensive metrics, we don't truly know how good of a jump Nelly's. It's stayed on versus like early Jarren Duran, where Jarren Duran couldn't get a good read on a ball to save his life, but like he might make like a leaping catch or a diving catch and he looks great. And I remember it's like Alex Cora being like, yeah, he needs to work on his jumps. It's like, but he's fast. He's great at getting to the ball. And it's like, yeah, but he's slow off. He's not having the best read off the jump, right? And there's level. It's sometimes hard to tell, right?
Yeah.
Aaron Judge can make a 90% catch probability ball look like 10%, and Sadon can make a 10% ball look like 90%.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's not a slight at Aaron Judge. It's more so saying Aaron Judge.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. Aaron Judge made the greatest catch of all time in the World Series.
Well, I'm not making a slight at Judge. It's more so he should have never played center field because there's a kind of somewhat incompetent team over in that kind of crappy city.
It's nice that the Red Sox don't suck at the moment because I don't feel bad mocking the Yankees again.
We might have to get to a point where we should. I feel like we should get to a point where we start like naming awards at some point. Whenever we start naming awards, this is probably going to turn into the Nelly Taylor Defensive Player Award.
That's what I do. I have I do my monthly awards for my articles, and my base runner of the month is the Danny Mars Award. Defender of the month is the Deanner Lopez Award. Starting pitcher of the month is the Dedgar Jimenez Award. It's all just like Red Sox prospects who never even made it to the majors that I thought were going to be good and did not make it to to honor prospects that I thought were going to be really good when I was younger. And
see, it's funny because I fall in love with like the my like love affair with like Yamiko Navarro was stupid. And it was like, hey, you can play a bunch of positions. That's fun. or like one of my it wasn't not the Red Sox. One of my favorite players growing up for whatever damn reason. I have no clue why. Emilio Bonifacio. I have
legend.
no clue why. I have
Emilio
no,
Bonifacio
but like
was awesome.
no, he was, but like,
Emilio.
but I mean, like it's a random. It's like a really random for, like, I feel like he was like before my like age group. I guess is more so like.
That's fair.
Like
yeah,
like,
because he was
like,
good when good. He was relevant when I was young. So
I mean, he made his debut in 07.
So yeah.
I mean, he played till 2020, but like he played 3 games.
Did he really?
He played 3 games in 2020.
That's crazy. Because he was bad quickly.
Yeah, he 2017 was his last like season where he played more than like 20 games.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
hold on, I have my list quick. Starting pitcher of the month is the Edgar Jimenez Award. Relief pitcher of the month is the Joan Martinez Award. I still don't know how to say his name. Offensive player of the month is the Chi Hisen Hyun Award. Defensive player of the month is the Deanna Lopez Award. Base runner of the month is Danny Mars Award. Yeah. Okay. So that's the list. So just a bunch of prospects that people probably have no idea who they are because I think Edgar Jimenez might be the only one that got to AAA. That's not true. Hien made it to AAA. He was supposed to be good. To be fair, like he was actually supposed to be good.
Yeah, so I'm looking at Bonifacio right now. We love getting off track here. He had a 1.1.
Did he steal in his prime?
Bonifacio had 40 in 2011.
Okay.
He had that was his best season. He had a 2.7 B WAR. He had a 107 OPS plus, which was the only year he was even a league average hitter. He had a 1.1 B WAR season the year before in 2010, but he only had he only played 73 games and had a 74 OPS plus. And then he didn't have another 1-win season until he had a 1-win season in 2014 split between the Cubs and the Braves. In 110 games, he had an 82 OPS plus. In 2013, he had in 94 games with the Blue Jays, he was bad. He had a negative 0.6 B WAR, but then he got traded. Looks like he got traded to the Royals in 2013, and then in 42 games had a 1.1 B WAR in 42 games. I mean, I'll put it, there will not be a player like Bonifacio like today, and because they just don't need, like Mauricio Dubon's like the closest. It's like the closest it gets, I think. So like, but like Dubon's not nearly as also former Red Sox minor leaguer right there, Mauricio Dubon. But like, I don't think there's anyone that's like as fun as Bonifacio, where just can play all over the field, can swipe a bag. Also, wore like some elite numbers as well. Like Bonifacio was in like the single digits for like almost every team he played with, which like doesn't happen to just like role players nowadays. There's so the early 2010s were a wacky time. With that though, we probably should get a move on. We have three awards left. First up is position player of the first half, not including Franklin Arias. The nominees are Brooks Brannon, Andy Azakar, Jack Winay, Yohan Fran Garcia. This one is probably going to be the closest one. There might be some debates considering there's just the two of us plus the fan vote, which we'll get to in a sec. Hunter, though, who do you have for position player of the first half, not including Franklin Arias?
Yeah, this one was very tough for me. Because this is position player, so a lot goes into this. Like it's all around. We're looking at offense, we're looking at defense, we're looking at base running, we're looking at literally everything. And like defensively, Andy Azakar is the best player here. If we're talking about base running, Andy Azakar is the best player here. If we're talking offensively, Brooks Brannon is probably the best player here. Maybe Johan Fran Garcia. Jack Winay gives them both a run for his money. He has 59 walks, just 64 strikeouts on the year. He's got 13 home runs. Brooks Brannon leads the group in home runs. Brooks Brannon also leads the group in RBIs. Johan Fran Garcia has been phenomenal this year. He has the highest batting average of the group. He has had multiple really long hitting streaks. He has 12 home runs. He started the year a little late. And when he did start the year, he had started off really cold. I really wanted to give him the award, but had a little bit of an issue just because the 502 slugging percentage is phenomenal. I'm really high on his potential. I think he has like just unlimited power potential, but 64 strikeouts, just 11 walks. The defense is a pretty big question mark. I'm a little bit higher on his defense behind the plate than some other people are. I don't think it's anything spectacular or anything. But I don't think he's looked as bad as a couple other people do. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's been great. The awards have been up since like noon or like 1:00. And I still haven't really come to 100% of a decision. So I'm kind of doing this on the fly. I think I'm going to give it to this is hard.
It's hard too because I'm still debating it right now as we're
okay.
as you're
Good.
talking.
That makes me feel a little bit better. I feel bad.
I'm literally in my head rattling, literally not even between the four guys. I'm rattling between like an extra two guys as well. That I'm just like because like don't get me wrong, the level that this guy has done it as hurts him, but like Franklin Primera could arguably be in this conversation, right? Does the level hurt him? Yes, in that conversation. But you could argue he was so damn good in the complex league that like you could, and especially at the catcher position, like you can make that argument. Like hell, like he's like even kind of going out of like the prospect route, we're just gonna call minor leagues, like Mickey Gasper, like hello, like the guy's been stupid in Worcester, right? And that's your highest level in the minor leagues. I'm not giving it to him, but like it's a name that you very like. Just looking at the numbers, like he's been really good this year. Either like there are guys that are, like I think like one of the guys that kind of pops up for me that even like isn't even listed. Like I know he's hurt right now, but like Henry Godbout, just in terms of doesn't strike out a lot, walks, on base over 400, weighted runs created plus over 130, like kind of brings everything at the plate that you want outside of, maybe the fact that like, I mean, like, could you be a little bit greedy with him and be like, yeah, you want to hit for more power? Yeah, you could be a little bit greedy with everyone, technically. Be like, oh, you'd love to have a little bit more of this or a little bit more of that, right? The thing with Godbout just kind of defensively is like, okay, it's like, it's not like he's bad defensively, but like, you're not like, also not at like, you're not a catcher, right? You're not a center fielder. You're not a shortstop where Godbout's going to be a little bit more kind of, yes, he's played shortstop this year, but he's not like a shortstop in terms of like, he's not your Franklin Arias at shortstop where it's like, I can see Arias being like a legitimate good big league shortstop. Godbout to me feels like the type of shortstop where it's like, can he play shortstop? Yes, but long term, I feel like he's going to end up getting moved off of shortstop. And he's going to find a home where he's probably going to be good defensively elsewhere. That's not a bad thing. I feel like Godbout has could be like a. I think Godbout could be like a pretty damn good second baseman, right? Doesn't mean he's a bad shortstop, but like he's not, you know, he's not like an elite shortstop, right? And when you kind of start looking at certain players, it pulls them back. And that's not even, like I said, I'm just mentioning guys that aren't even included. Like Brooks Brannon has been probably the best hitter outside of Franklin Arias in the system, potentially. I mean, Endy Azakar feels like whole package. Like if you want the whole package, Endy Azakar feels like maybe the best play. Also, Endy Azakar, like a sneaky, like didn't like hit like get the defensive player nomination, but like could be something like next year or even at the end of the year where we look at it and like he could be a nominee for that at some point in the future. And he's good on the bases and he's hitting, right? Like, and then obviously like Jack Winay, we've been all over, how great he's been the last feels like month. And then you have Yoanfran Garcia, who's just, I don't know if you want to call it like a resurgence but like it feels like he's back at the point where like pre-ACL, like where it was like this is a legitimate guy behind the plate that we can like really get excited about. Because the ACL injury, obviously, that's going to cast doubt, right? So this is definitely by far the toughest category. By far.
I'm going Jack Winay. Solid corner infield defender, 13 home runs. Like I said, the 59 walks to just 64 strikeouts. That's something that everybody else on the list has kind of struggled with. He's looked good since going up to Double-A. 429 on base percentage is absurd. And just like he's kind of the only one here who is really like the full package. I mean, he doesn't really have like the speed, so I guess he doesn't have that going for him. But like Azakar's had the walk to strikeout issues. He hasn't really hit for contact since going up to high A. Brannon and Garcia don't have like they both strike out a little bit. I mentioned like Garcia with the strikeouts and the walks. Neither of them. Brooks Brannon has looked very good defensively at first base. I will give him that. But just I think Winay has been just phenomenal all year. And I know you mentioned like Primera as someone, but I just find it hard to vote for someone who I haven't really gotten to see all year. Like I didn't get to see him at all when he was in the FCL, so
That's also
I can't.
the FCL, like the competition level is also like that. And
Yeah.
I mentioned that like it's kind of hard to give it to him. Like I think he's a name that should be mentioned, but yeah, it's kind of hard to give it to him with the fact that the majority of his production so far has come the FCL, and that's to no fault of his own. Like, but it's it's what it is.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that there's the reason that this is a hard category is just because there's a lot of players in the system who had phenomenal first halves. But and I mean, obviously, this would have just gone to Franklin Arias because he's been one of the best players in all of minor league baseball. But I think that Jack Winay just kind of put together such a phenomenal first half. And if I'm gonna have to give it to someone, I think that he's kind of been just a little bit better than everybody else.
Yeah. I feel I've been like torn between like Winay and even like a Godbout, right? Because like I said, Godbout's playing shortstop. He's not, like I said, he's not like the elite of the defenders at shortstop, but like it's not like he's bad there, and like it's but also too like he's been hurt. Someone like Mason White's always interesting because people's like, oh, he might have I think that the thing with Mason White is he has like a deceptive strikeout problem where it's like because he's a big power guy, it almost feels like he strikes out more than he does. Because this year he's only struck out 23% of the time, which, in all honesty, is around average. Which, you add in, like I said, like the pop there, and he's walked 11% of the time this year. Like he has been sneaky for me. The thing that kind of holds him back a little bit too this year is also kind of limited. Not limited. What's the word I'm looking for? He split his time. Yeah, no, it is limited. Limited time at shortstop in terms of he split his time between short and second base. Also, was one of the promotions. Also, we can mention that with him. So it does kind of speak to him deserving of being in the conversation. I do think I'm going to lean Winnie just on kind of the factor that, yeah, like he doesn't have the speed, but like if he had the speed, you're looking at a full, like all around really good prospect. I feel like here we're kind of, it's if Winnie is really only, like he's hitting 277, he's got 424 on base, he's got a 465 slug. He's got 135 weighted runs created plus this year. He's striking out less than 20% of the time. He's walking 18% of the time. And he's done it in 330 plate appearances, which is the fourth most out of all players in the minor leagues. The only players with more plate appearances than him this year are Justin Gonzalez, Yoelan Cespedes, and Endy Azekar. So kind of on that, right, doing it with the amount of plate appearances he's had as well as, opposed to some of the other guys who haven't had as many plate appearances. That's kind of like my push Winnie ahead. And it does look like it's going to be a clean sweep for Jack Winnie. He wins the vote with a plurality vote. He has 45% of the votes, and then 18% each for Endy Azekar, Yohan Fran Garcia, and Brooks Brannon. So no majority there, but it is a clean sweep there for Jack Winnie. Next up, biggest surprise of the first half. The nominees are Abram Liendo, Andrew Zapata, Antonio Anderson, and Ronald Rosario. I'll hand it back over to you, Hunter. Biggest surprise of the first half.
Again, another category where I think everybody has a little bit of merit. Liendo came in the year as, a guy who very much just a defense and speed guy, and he ends the first half with a career high in RBIs. I think he had 41 in the first half, and his previous career high was like 32 or 33. So like that alone, I mean, he's only hitting like 230 on the season or something like that, but just still just like the added offensive game, and still just being like one of at the very least, even if people don't agree with me that he's the best defensive player in the system, I don't think anybody's going to argue with me that he's one of the best defensive players in the system. He's one of the best base runners in the system. Like he is always going to bring those two things, and now adding, at least being a threat offensively, that's awesome. Ronald Rosario, admittedly being carried by the last couple weeks. But that's also more just the fact that he's getting playing time now. All of a sudden, he's hitting 282. He's got, I think, 8 or 9 home runs. It's been really cool to see him, get more playing time. He's a catcher. He's a first baseman. And he's just been phenomenal. Antonio Anderson, again, kind of the same case as Ronald Rosario, except he's got more of a sample size, because it's kind of been like the last month and a half. He's been a case of, Henry Godbout went down. Fraley Encarnacion went down. I was going to say, I know someone else got hurt. Fraley Encarnacion went down, and all of a sudden Antonio Anderson went from getting 1 to 2 games a week and not really knowing when he was going to play to, hey, you're in the lineup every single day. And he was hitting literally under 100 at the end of April and hitting like 170 at the end of May. And now he's hitting like 260 something. He hit like 340 in June. He's hitting like 330 something in July. In what is just an absolutely loaded Greenville lineup, he has been the best hitter for the last 2 months. And I mean, this is a guy who was a third round pick for the Red Sox a couple of years ago. So at one point he was a very exciting prospect, but he has quickly become someone who I think if you asked a lot of like very devoted Red Sox fans, like, hey, what do you think of Antonio Anderson? A lot of them would probably be like, who the hell is Antonio Anderson? Or I should say, if you would have asked them about Antonio Anderson, like at the start of the year. And I think if you ask them now, at least a decent amount of them would be like, oh, that dude's crushing it right now. So he's been awesome. But it has to be Andrew Zapata. Like, this is literally an undrafted free agent from last year. And he's hitting 240. He's got, five home runs, I think, but again, he's in Salem and all of his home runs are absolute moonshots. He's hitting, over the batter's eye in center field. Like, he's someone that I think when he gets out of Salem, we're going to see a couple more home runs. He's going to, 15, he's got 15 to 20 homer potential. Obviously he has a bit of a strikeout problem, so that's something that he'll need to work on. But he's got 40 steals. He's a really good defender. Those are things that will always translate. Again, he's going to need to work on the contact. He's going to need to work on working counts. Well, I shouldn't say that. He's actually pretty good at working counts. It's more just the swing and miss is the issue. But for being an undrafted free agent, I mean, he's been such a massive spark plug for Salem. This is a team that has struggled for offense for a large portion of the year. They've actually been one of the more exciting teams to watch the last couple of weeks, which is hilarious because for a very long time this year, we have been talking about, like, my God, can Salem give us something to talk about? In the last couple of weeks, basically since Franklin Primera has gotten there, they've been, or I should say, like the week before he got there, they've been like the most fun team to watch, which is funny because like you'd think it would be attributed to him, but he kind of struggled the first like 2 weeks he got there. The team just decided to turn it on when he got there. But like, even when the team was struggling, there would be weeks where, Andrew Zapata had 6 hits or had, he walked 5 times and he stole 4 bases. Or even he would go like 1 for 17, but he hit a homer and he again walked 5 times and stole 4 bases. And he had a diving play, and like he's always doing something. And it's just I'm a broken record right now, but an undrafted free agent coming in and doing these things, like this is someone who very easily could have had 12 at bats, gotten cut, and we never talked about him again. And instead it's July 20th. And if he got promoted in a couple days, in a couple weeks, in a month or whatever, I would be completely unshocked. Like, he's been phenomenal. I wouldn't be mad if any of these guys won the award. I especially wouldn't be mad if Antonio Anderson won it, because he has gone from looking dead in the water at the start of the year, especially after April. But just to me, what Andrew Zapata has done this year, from being just like a signing that I don't think anybody even like reported on the signing, to being one of the more exciting prospects, and I don't want to say one of the more like exciting in the sense of like, obviously, Franklin Primera is there, and Skylar King's been awesome. Like they have bigger names there, but like he's been one of the more exciting players to watch in Salem. Like he's right up there with Skylar King, with Starlin Nunez. Like he's been so much fun So he gets the award from me.
I think Pete Alonso's on crack. He just tried to steal a base. Besides that, um, I want to start first with the fan vote here. So the fan vote, 45% of the vote went to Antonio Anderson, 18% to Andres Zapata and Albert Liendo, 9% for Ronald Rosario, and Jack Winay also as write-in got 9% of the vote. I want to throw this out of left field. To me, I think the biggest surprise of this year so far, at least in the first half, if we're saying just first half surprise, I think it might be Franklin Arias. I mean, and I didn't bring this up to Hunter because I didn't want him to put him in as an option and now everyone picks Franklin Arias because it's Franklin Arias. I legitimately think if we're talking like shock factor, the fact that Franklin Arias has 18 home runs and we're in the middle of July and he's doing it in Portland as well, right? Kind of crazy. Like, to me, that is shock factor. Not to say that other guys haven't been a big surprise in like great ways. Like, I absolutely agree with Opada being a massive surprise. I feel like Opada's the type of guy where, like, at the end of season, you say he's the biggest surprise. For me, just on the first half basis, like, just because we came into the year with Arias being like, okay, in the big leagues, power-wise, it'd be great if he's a 10 to 15 homer guy. If he can get to 15 to 20, that'd be amazing. He's got 18 freaking homers in the first half, basically. In all honesty, depending on if Arias gets hot or not, like at some point with the power or whenever he gets moved up to Worcester, if the ball starts flying, he might flirt with 30 home runs this year, like legitimately. And like, for me, trying to tell, like, if I tried to tell, I feel like if I came to the show like Derek from the future in March and said Franklin Arias is going to flirt with 30 home runs this season, I feel like I think it would have been, you're crazy. So for me, like, that's the biggest surprise. Like, Arias is the biggest surprise. I feel like the biggest surprise award is more fitting for Arias than the Slugger award for me personally. So I'm going with Arias. Like I said, the power increase has turned him from a top 50 prospect to a top 5 prospect. It is taken his value and probably doubled it, if not more than doubled it, right? There's nothing against either of these guys. Like, I think Opada's like a really good choice. Right, obviously, like, very much a surprise in that sense of like, yeah, like, are you really gonna, how many people are really expecting something out of Opada? But then again, like, this is getting like really nitpicky, but like, there were maybe a couple whispers early in the year or like in spring training of like, oh, this guy might be interesting. Right. Whereas I feel in some ways with Arias, like, even if they tried telling me there was going to be a big power jump, I don't think I would have believed it at all. So that's why I'm going Arias. That's my actually, I'll throw this out there. My revision to the awards, and we've never done this before. I am making a live request that we pull the Slugger Award away from Arias and give him the biggest surprise award.
Did he win Slugger though?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did. Duh.
I would say give the Slugger Award to either Brandon or someone or someone else and give it to give Arias biggest surprise. We've never had it before. We might need to just like call Jake somehow and be like, thoughts. Jake be the committee. I don't know. That's just me because I like I said, nothing against any other guys, but I feel like to me, Arias is kind of locked in on biggest surprise. Like it's like almost like a position I'm not willing to move on. It's like a politician where it's like I'm voting yes on this, and nothing you do is going to change my vote.
Oh, it says drunk people can't get married.
I mean, or we could do co-winners. I'm not against that, but then the issue is we also have the
It's a three-way tie.
It's a three-way tie.
Whatever works. I mean, it's not like anyone cares.
That's true.
No one's gonna lose over sleep. No one's gonna lose sleep over it.
That is also true.
There's no cash prize that comes with this. So
I say you know what? We'll leave it up to Jake if he responds by the end of this episode. And if not, then it'll be a three-way tie.
I'm gonna guess Jake voted in this, considering he retweeted it, but
I'm gonna assume but we'll let him break the tie. We'll see what Jake says.
But okay, last one.
Yes,
Comeback star.
Last one. Comeback star. The nominees are Angel Bastardo, Stanley Tucker, Yoelin Cespedes, and Yoferi Rodriguez. I'll hand it over to you, Hunter.
This one's super easy to me because I feel like Yoelin Cespedes having a great year after a rough season. Yoferi Rodriguez having a great year after a rough season. Angel Bastardo having a solid year after missing the last year and a half from an injury. And then Stanley Tucker missed the last year or 2 years from injury, and he is having a phenomenal season. It's got to be Stanley Tucker. Like he didn't play last year, and he's played he's hit home runs in single A, high A, and double A. He's got 26 steals. He's played all over the field. He's hitting like 270 on the season. He's been fantastic. And I feel like people have not recognized what he's done because he's not a big name and he's not, someone that is going to pop up in prospect rankings, and he's not like some crazy power prospect or anything, but what he's done deserves a lot more credit than he's gotten. So yeah, Stanley Tucker.
I'm gonna be boring, and I'm kind of agree. the fan vote went 82% Yoelin Cespedes and 18% Yoferi Rodriguez. Cespedes is weird because he's had a lot of pop in the bat, but like I feel like overall he hasn't been like crazy at the plate. So like he's a weird one. Like if you're just judging by like the homer numbers and the power, like yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, like there is a little bit of me that wonders like is it the full package at the plate? I don't know, right? I think he's got a sub 100 weighted runs created plus as well, which is a little bit iffy.
Yeah, the average has severely dipped for him recently.
Yeah. So it is what it is. It is what it is. That's gonna wrap up our midseason awards then. Well, potentially. We'll see if Jake gives us a response. We are at the 2-hour mark. So if you're still listening, shout out. We still have a minor league recap. Before we even get to the stand minor league recap. Oh god, we went so off the rails at the beginning of the show. We have some official signing bonus numbers for the Red Sox 2026 draft class. We promise this won't take that long. We've talked about the draft needs for the last 2 weeks. We promise this will not take too long. So Jake Schaffner with the first pick. The slot was $4.3739 million. He got $2 million on the dot. Second pick was Owen Hull. Slot was $1.3173 million. He got 1.2. Then in the third round, here you start to see an overslot. Jace Matushinsky, $815,700 was the signing bonus. He got a $2 million signing bonus. Big overslot play there. Then, fifth round, Lucas Davenport got $350K, so a little bit more than $100K under slot. Same thing with Brett Landman in the sixth round, $240K, about a little bit more than $100K under slot, a little bit more than $110,000 actually. Then in the seventh round, Kide Atatui, he got $175,000, about $100,000 under slot. Then eighth round, Josh Volmerding, $155,000. That's about $70,000 under slot or so. Then the big plays come here in the ninth round. Martin Sheelar, $1.5 million signing bonus. Slot value was $205,400. So big overslot there. And then Caleb Lefevre, $147,500 signing bonus. $194,000 was the slot bonus. Then in the 11th round, they went $100,000. They put $100,000 of what was left over towards Wills McGinnis. So he got a $250,000 signing bonus from 11th round to the 20th round. It's only what goes past $150,000 that counts towards the bonus pool. Then Jacob Webster got $160,000. Mason Lay got $155,000. Chase Evangelista got $190,000. 15th rounder Chase Frey has yet to sign. We'll see where that lands. He does have an Oregon commit though. 16th rounder Colton Coates signed for $150,000 right on the dot. Same thing with 17th rounder Alex Kranzler. Ethan Offing, 18th rounder, commit to Clemson. We kind of assumed he wasn't going to sign. We're kind of assuming that's what it's going to be. He seems like the backup for the Matushinsky, Sheelar, etc. Luis Calderon and Aiden Vandehater both signed for $150,000. Those were the 19th and 20th round picks. They did get a couple of drafted free agents in Carson Rive, a left-handed pitcher, and Johan Castro, a high school catcher out of Puerto Rico. So those are all the signing bonuses. We mentioned we really did kind of mention the overslot, underslot last week, but that really puts into the big picture in terms of signing bonuses this draft class. Schaffner and Matushinsky were the two highest signing bonuses, then Sheelar in the 9th round, then Hull in the kind of competitive balance round after the 2nd round, then Lefevre in the 10th, then Davenport, then actually McGinnis in the 11th round, then Landman in the 6th, Atatui in the 7th, then Webster in the 12th. No, sorry, Evangelista in the 14th, then Webster in the 12th, I think. And that, regardless, I'm screwing up a little bit, I think, but they're all under 200,000 at that point. But you get the point where Sheelar in the 9th round got the 3rd biggest bonus. Matushinsky got the same amount as their 1st rounder in the 3rd round, right? So you see where the strategy came in. This was very much, instead of getting that one guy in the 1st round and maybe not having as much money in the rest of the draft, they went severe. They got Schaffner to take a severe pay cut with that 1st round pick, which in all honesty probably was more money he was going to get than he was going to get in the 2nd round. And then that allowed them to then really make plays with Matushinsky in the 3rd round, but really with Sheelar in the 9th and Lefevre in the 10th. So that was kind of how their draft played out. Any final thoughts on the draft, Hunter, before we move on from the draft for probably the next 11 months?
Nope, not really. Just good job by them to get Lefevre for $847,000. I thought it would be more than that. So pleasantly surprised with that. Yeah, just very happy that they got just about everybody signed.
Yeah, and like I mentioned too, Offing hasn't signed yet. South Carolina kid with a commit to Clemson in the 18th round. Let's be completely honest. That's what you do when you're gonna go looking at guys for overslot later in the draft. Sheelar, for example, you want to have a backup option. God forbid they don't sign, right? Offing kind of seemed like that backup option. So that's so he's like, I would assume he's not going to sign. That's totally fine. He's going to go to Clemson. Good for him, right? He's going to get an education, going to get to play there. And then Chase Bray, will wait and see. Maybe he'll sign, maybe he won't. He does have an Oregon commit though, so to transfer there from Grand Canyon. So we'll see where that lines up. Regardless, though, they got all the guys that it was important to get. With that, though, it is now time for kind of our minor league recap. It's a very short one this week. We're just going to run down the line. We're going to start here in Worcester, start right at the top and just run it down. We're going to start on the pitching side at all the levels this week just because there's really more to talk about there because, guys made actual starts, although there's not as much in Worcester because, Worcester's Worcester and they hate us apparently. But Angel Bastardo, 2 innings, no hits, no runs, no walks, no hit batters, 4 strikeouts. Really good appearance from him. Noah Song had a scoreless appearance. Tommy Kahnle's back with the Woo Sox on a minor league deal. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Realistically, kind of Worcester for you at this point.
Yeah.
Now moving on to the hitting side of things. This one is also probably going to be pretty quick. Braden Ward went 1 for 3, but he had a triple. He also drew a walk. Alan Castro went 4 for 7 with a double, an RBI, and a walk with only 1 strikeout. Brett Harris went 3 for 8 with a double and a homer. Nate Eaton went 3 for 8 with a homer and a walk. Mikey Romero hit a homer. And that's kind of it. In Worcester, they pretty much split the roster, kind of split. You either played 1 game or 2 games. There wasn't that was kind of how it kind of rolled. Half of them played just 1 game, right? It coming off the All-Star break, that's typically what happens. But so it doesn't leave us much to talk about in Worcester, Hunter. I feel like that's probably a Worcester coverage for the week.
Yeah, just like you said, Angel Bastardo pitched really well. Alan Castro had a good week. There we go.
More like weekend. Really.
Good, yeah, good 2 days.
Yeah, literally. Moving on to Portland. This one we actually do have something to talk about. 2 really good starts between Gage Zeal and Anthony Ianson. Zeal, 5 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk. You'd think, that's a pretty damn good start, right? But it might have been the best start of the week in the organization. No, Anthony Ianson decided to one-up him. 5 innings, only 1 hit, no runs, 8 strikeouts, and 1 walk. 2 really good outings, but I think we'll just focus on Ianson for a second. His best outing since he's got moved up to Portland. Really, really good. And also going 5 innings as well with that. It's one of those outings with Ianson where, it feels like it makes you kind of feel like not that this feeling's gone away because it hasn't, but it gives that extra reminder to you of this guy is obscene, he's crazy, he's so good, and obviously he's had an amazing year so far. There's a reason we pretty much disqualified him from the best pitcher award or the best starting pitcher award because it wouldn't be fair because he'd win it in an absolute it'd probably be unanimous, right? Anyone who wouldn't have voted for him would have been throwing basically a second place vote because they knew Ianson was going to win. So in that case, right, Ianson, he's been amazing this year. A really great start to kind of kickstart his second half, and then to jump into the second half really good. So yeah, Ianson was amazing.
Yeah. Ianson threw 61 pitches, 48 strikes, 19 whiffs. We're running out of things to say about him. Obviously, he pitched in the Futures All-Star game. I say pitched loosely. He threw against 2 batters. Got 1 out. It's the Futures game is obviously, we've complained about it. They don't really get to do much. They it's a 7-inning game. They really need to make it a 9-inning game. But he got to experience that and then turns around and immediately has one of his best games, not just in AA, but just in the minors in general. And then Gage Jazeel comes out the very next day and gets 13 whiffs and 5 shutout innings. Also strikes out 8 people. But yeah, that was just a absolutely devastating 1-2 punch by Portland. There's
pretty
no
much
need
everyone
to
who
rush.
pitched for them. Pretty
Yeah.
much everyone who pitched for them pitched well this week.
Yeah. There's no need to rush Anthony Ianson.
This is not a Tolley situation where you might need him in the big leagues.
Yeah, like the Red Sox have more than enough pitching, but I am curious if the Red Sox push Ianson to AAA at some point this year, just because like he's only at 14 games this year. He made one relief appearance just because Sandoval had a rehab start at one point, and he came out of the bullpen that game. I think he still threw 5 innings. But so in 14 games this year between high A and AA, he has a 1.19 ERA, a 1.44 batting average against, a 0.82 WHIP, 60 and 2/3 innings. He has 79 strikeouts, 21 walks. It's just like, and like he's been dominating in AA. It's just like, I mean, obviously, like this start was ridiculous. And I know, obviously, like we mentioned it with Arias, where Brian Abraham has mentioned where like AA is where they feel like the prospects get the most development. But I feel like a pitcher might benefit more from AAA because they're facing more of like the MLB ready hitters, like the Abraham Toros of the world, where it's like, oh, he's a major league hitter who's just, down here for when the team needs him. Like I do feel like that's more of a.
I mean, we could have went with someone who's a little bit, more lovingly thought of than Abraham Toro.
I was just trying to think of like an actual example. But just like there's more
the Michael Chavises of the world.
Yeah, like there's more.
That's a better example. Shout out Ice Horse.
MLB hitters in AAA where it's like this guy could go to the majors and produce, where the
Matt
pitchers
Wallner
are more like this guy's just trying to hold on to his career, like, so I feel like a pitcher might benefit more from AAA than a hitter might. So I'm curious if we see Ianson at some point in AAA this year. And I don't want fans to be like, oh, Anthony Ianson's going to be pitching in the majors tomorrow then because he's up in AAA now. But yeah, he's just been, I mean, like I said, we're running out of things to say about him because it's just been, every week, it's just been incredible.
I'm trying to think of like a guy in AAA who's fun, but I'm like drawing a blank, unfortunately. I don't want to say anyone and be like this guy, and it's like, the guy's a big leaguer though. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I mean, actually, your old friend Ryan Fitzgerald, right? Is he with like the Dodgers now or something? Like, old friend. It was like a while ago. When was his last year with the Red Sox org? Yeah, it was 2023. It's a little unfortunate that we started the show in 2023 and we only got that year of Ryan Fitzgerald. Imagine if we had the show and we got like the 2 previous years of Ryan Fitzgerald. Obviously, he was older, yeah, but like still, like, oh, it's so much fun. He was so much fun in Worcester in 23. But oh well. He's hitting 319 for the Dodgers AAA affiliate, actually. Shout out Ryan Fitzgerald. Hunter and I were talking briefly before the show. One of these days, we're gonna do like a old friends segment or something where it's like we're like former players who have been out of the system for maybe a year or two or longer and see what they look at what they're doing. Maybe that'll be an off season thing. But we're gonna do that at some. We got to do that at some point. But no, back to just the pitching. Yeah, Ionson's great. I just want to run through this because Gage Deal is really good too, but also too Cooper Adams inning 2/3 of no run baseball. Caleb Bolden scoreless inning. John Holbetz 2 scoreless innings. Hayden Mullins out of the bullpen 3 1/3 scoreless innings. Jedixon Paez 2 scoreless innings. Reyes Sena scoreless inning. Jeremy Wieland scoreless inning, and Patrick Halligan did give up a run on a solo homer, but outside of that, nothing else in the 2 innings he pitched. It's all about one guy who pitched. I don't want to mention the guy. He had a rough outing. I don't want to down on him for the one bad outing, but that's almost the entire pitching staff right there for Portland. And all those guys combined give up 1 run. 1 singular run. So that's 10 guys who gave up a combined 1 run together this week. So yes, not a lot of games. It's not a full week, but still counts for something. Anything else, Hunter, on the pitching side of things?
Nope.
All right, let's bump over to the hitting side of things. Ronald Rosario had a pair of homers and a pair of doubles. He went 4 for 12. Jack Winay 3 for 8 with a pair of doubles as well. Franklin Arias had a double, 3 hits, 2 walks as well. Brooks Brannon had a pair of doubles and a homer. What else was there? Mason White only had 3 at bats, but he did get a hit.
First double-A hit?
Yep, first double hit for Mason White. Will Turner in Will Turner fashion walked 4 times. Will Turner might have the funniest stat line right now because his on base is near 400, but he what is Hunter doing?
Announce it. Say it. I know you got the alert.
What alert?
The text from Jake.
Oh crap!
Don't hide from it.
Sorry. I got my phone on the Red Sox game, so it's blocking out all text. Jake has went with Andres Zapata for biggest surprise in the first half. I'm okay with that. Like I said, he's very much deserving. So Jake's our tiebreaker there, giving it to Zapata. I'm totally okay with that. Like I said, I have no issues with that. Like I said, Arias was definitely my first choice, but if I had to pick a second choice, it probably would be Zapata. So, not mad at it by any means. Yes. Back to the kind of position player things. What was I? Yeah, Will Turner doing Will Turner things. Like he's got such a weird stat line this year because his on base is what I want to find the exact number before I butcher it. Because I thought it was like 390, but I might be slightly off. 380. So he's got a 386 on base. He's only hitting 196 though, but he's got 10 homers and a 386 on base. Will Turner's got the stat line your grandpa would hate. He's got, or your dad, depending on your age, but like still, like he's got the stat line any guy over the age of 50 would hate, or even over the age of 60. More so over the age of 60, actually. There are some cool 50-year-olds, 50-plus-year-olds, but maybe Jake will be getting there sometime soon. I'm kidding. We love you, Jake. I doubt he's listening at this point.
Jake votes on my side, and you immediately go to trashing him. I get it.
Well, hey, some things never change.
Ronald Rosario 4 for 12, 2 doubles, 2 homers. So he won Eastern League Player of the Week last week. Just keeps crushing. Like I said earlier, when we were doing the awards, he's just been cruising the last couple weeks. just he's getting consistent playing time at the moment, and he's been handling it well. Cool to see Mason White. He hit a home run in Greenville this week, gets promoted, and then gets a single in his first Double A game. Actually broke up a no hitter with his single, and then Salem ended up winning that game. And then Jack Winay 3 for 8, walk, 2 doubles, RBI. Did I say Salem? Sorry. Jack Winay 3 for 8 with a walk, 2 doubles, RBI. He's got a 12-game hitting streak at the moment. He's hitting .333 since being promoted to Double A, which is just bonkers. Yeah, just not much else to say about him. There's a reason I voted him for the best position player in the system in the first half. Best position player not named Franklin Arias in the system in the first half because he's been awesome. Yeah, not much else to say.
Yeah. Yep. That's pretty much it. We're going to move on quickly here because we're already at near the 2.5 hour mark. I'm going to bump down to Greenville now. Pitching side, there's not much. Tyler Davis and Matt McShane both had scoreless outings. That's pretty much. I mean, Jojo Ingrassia gave up 2 runs, but he did it in 4 1/3 innings. So 4 1/3 innings feels like is a longer outing for Ingrassia, so that's nice to see. He did walk 4 though, but he struck out 5. Other than that, not really much on the pitching side of things. On the hitting side of things, like you mentioned, Mason White hit a homer. Antonio Anderson 4 for 10 with a triple and a homer. Yoferi Rodriguez hit a homer. Ronnie Hernandez had 5 hits. Luke Heyman hit a homer. Isaiah Jackson went 2 for 8 with a double. Eddie Ascar had a double himself. Pretty much it in Greenville. Not a ton. Anything you want to focus on, highlight in Greenville, Hunter?
Yeah, Ferry Rodriguez 3 for 8, double, homer, 5 RBIs. He's up to 17 doubles, 13 homers on the year, 34 RBIs. So Rodriguez had 12 homers in 2024 and 2025 combined. He's surpassed that in just this year alone. He's hitting just 228 on the year, 308 on base percentage. But the added power has been really cool to see. He's still just 20 years old. This was his first home run in, I think it was since like July or since like June, like 27th or something like that. So it had been quite some time since a home run. And I'm sorry, he hit the home run on Sunday, but he did have a home run and a double. The home run came off a lefty, which was good to see. Or no, I might be lying. The double came off a lefty. But still, we're seeing a ton of extra power. Again, just 20. The swing's pretty. It's even with the low average, even with the low on base percentage, we've seen a lot of really good growth from Yoferi Rodriguez this year. A lot to like. He's to me, he seems like one of those prospects that I think is gonna fly under the radar for a little bit, especially just with how loaded the system is. And then especially with how the season has gone this year, if the Red Sox end up selling a couple prospects and maybe the system empties out a little bit, next year or maybe even in 2028, he comes up as, all of a sudden he's in Double A and people are like, holy hell, where did he come from? And I mean, not that he's someone people don't know because he was, involved in a pretty high profile trade and everything. I do think people will know the name. But I think he's someone that, at some point he's going to make a name for himself. And I do think people are going to he's going to catch on at some point. It's just that there's very clearly something there with him. There's very much I don't want to say boom or bust, but there's very much like a low floor, high ceiling with him. So it's just a question of if he can figure it all out. Ronnie Hernandez 5 for 11 with a double. He's just been awesome. 288, 413, 592 /9, 8 doubles, 10 homers. He has 27 walks and just 18 strikeouts through 39 games. He has one of the bloodiest savant pages that you'll see in the minor leagues. Another guy who's just like not really getting talked about. I get it. He's not like the sexiest prospect, mainly a first baseman. He is a catcher, but like mainly playing first base. But just like, again, just with how red his savant page is, I really do think that people should maybe be talking about him a little bit more, especially again with just the walk to strikeout ratio. There's a lot to like there. And then again, just Antonio Anderson, switch hitter, a triple, a homer, 4 RBIs, hit 400 this week. He's up to 260. He's got a 359 on base. It's really hard to not be ridiculously impressed with what this guy has done over the last couple months. Like it would have been so easy for him to, I don't want to say give up, but just like have just a terrible mindset. Like he was hitting 98 entering May. He was hitting, 170 going into June. And he was again like barely playing. I don't think anyone really would have blamed him for putting his head down and again, I don't want to say giving up, but having just not the right mindset, and he just didn't do that at all. And he earned an opportunity, and he has done everything possible with it, and it's been awesome to watch. And he continuously is hitting the piss out of the ball. And just another good week for him. So good for him.
Yeah. With that, we're gonna bump now down to Salem. Wrap it up with Salem. Trenner O'Donnell had 4 scoreless innings out of the bullpen. Jake's long lost cousin, as we all know.
Also promoted.
Yep, also promoted. 4 strikeouts, just 2 hits given up. Jose Bayo out of the bullpen, 5 1/3 innings, 3 hits, just 1 run, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Brady Tigert, 4 innings start, 2 runs, only 1 earned, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, gave up 3 hits. And then Leighton Finley, 5 innings, just the 2 runs, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk on 4 hits. Feels pretty good on the pitching side. Anyone you want to kind of single out, Hunter, on the pitching side of things?
Jose Bayo, 5 1/3, just the 1 run, 3 hits, struck out 4, just walked 1. 284 ERA, 225 batting average against, 131 whip in 13 games, 7 starts, 34 strikeouts, 22 walks, 44 1/3. The last remnants of the Rafael Devers trade, it was his first win of the year. It feels relevant to bring up whenever he does something good, because of the fact that he is the last part of the Rafael Devers trade that is still in the system. And it's always nice whenever he does something good. And I mean, he's never going to be like the most exciting pitcher because he doesn't strike out a ton of people. And admittedly, he's been walking more people than I would have liked this year. Like that kind of was like one of the bigger selling points on him was like, oh yeah, he doesn't really he doesn't really strike people out, but he also, he's not going to let a lot of people on base, and he's kind of been letting people on base this year. But I mean, he hasn't really given up a ton of runs. And like some of it, like this was a very entertaining start to watch. Like he was very much in command the entire time. This was, I believe, his longest outing ever in the system. So like that's a very positive takeaway. And he's been in the system for over a year now, and he's been in Salem for a while. So it would be nice to see him get bumped up to high A soon. Not that they would do it for this reason, but that would be a nice morale boost for the fans, just to that notification of just like, hey, Jose Bayo's been promoted to high A. I think that would just be a good hey guys, look, the Rafael Devers guy has been moved up. And I mean, he's deserved it at the moment. Like he's been pitching very well.
You could argue Rafael Devers though led to Caleb Durbin, so like.
Yeah, but argument. I feel like you could always pull that.
Yeah, but like who's been the better third baseman this year? Like, come on, who's going to be the better third baseman over the next 10 years? It's Caleb Durbin.
Well, obviously, Devers is playing first, but
that's kind of the point. Well, we wouldn't have Wilson Contreras then.
That's very fair.
Come on,
I'm not arguing any of that at all.
No, I know. You can all. Hey, all I'm saying is you can always spin something in a positive.
Yes, that's very fair. But yeah, I'm just Jose Bayo was fantastic this week. He's genuinely been pretty solid all year, and I would like to see him promoted pretty soon because it feels like it's been loading for a while.
Yeah. On the position player side of things, home runs for Cleber Salazar, Luis Andujar, and Franklin Primera. They all each had 2 doubles as well. Andujar also added a triple. Then Anderson Fermin had a triple which was one of his 4 hits. Avison Pinto had 4 hits, including a pair of doubles. Andrew Mussett had a pair of doubles, as well as a single. Skylar King had 3 hits, one of them being a double. And then all of those guys that I just mentioned all had at least 1 walk and 1 stolen base outside of Primera, who did not steal a base. Position player side of things, wrap it up, Hunter.
Yeah, cool week for Andujar. 2 doubles, a triple, a homer, stole 2 bases. He's been heating up lately. Primera had a monster game, 4 for 4 with a walk, and then the very next game he hits his first single A homer. Robinson Pinto 2 doubles, 5 RBIs, and a steal. But Anderson Fermin has been really hot the last couple of weeks, which is awesome because boy was he struggling for a while. He was hitting like 160. The slugging percentage was like 240. And then this week, 4 for 7 with a triple, 6 RBIs. He had back-to-back 3 RBI games, 2 steals, 2 walks to just 1 strikeout. Still just hitting 217. Still has just a 296 slugging percentage. 5 doubles, 2 triples, and a homer. He's got up to 17 RBIs. He's got 8 steals. But he does have a 385 on base percentage. So like this is like what has always been advertised with him. He's not going to hit for power, but he's going to get on base a ton. He's going to walk a ton. He's not going to strike out. So like this is what you want to see from him. Get on base, steal a couple bases. Like I don't expect him to steal a ton, but like steal some bases, and just like don't strike out. So like just get the average up a little bit and keep having, I don't expect him to hit, over 500 every week. But have some more weeks like this to get the average up to where it should be. And like become the prospect that we're looking for. Because he absolutely has the potential to be someone. It's just, it was a rough start to his single A career. But it's been a really good last couple weeks for him. And this was a really big indicator of things starting to really shape for him, because the 6 RBIs especially is just massive, because putting the bat on the ball is always, putting the ball in play is going to lead to good things. And I think that's kind of been the big issue for him is, again, like he's a guy who draws a ton of walks and he can put the bat on the ball, but I think he was kind of getting himself into issues where he was trying to work counts a little bit too much. And, all of a sudden he was putting himself into 2 strike counts. And then like, it was like, man, sometimes you just got to swing the ball or swing the bat. And we've seen this a lot with a lot of other, I've complained about this before. It's something that I've said with Christian Campbell before, where it's like working walks is great, but take what the pitcher gives you sometimes. And it feels like Fermin had been doing that a lot, where it was like, cool, we get it, you can draw a walk. But if the pitcher, if it's, I don't care if it's an 0-0 count and you're trying to draw and you want to work the count. If the pitcher's throwing you a fastball right down the plate, swing the bat, man. If he's throwing you ham and cheese down the middle, swing the bat. And he was doing that this week. He actually swung at an 0-0 pitch and hit a 2-run single, and I thought my eyes were going to fall out of my head. But it was great to see. So yeah, just a great week for him. And I would love to see more aggressive swinging from Anderson Fermin, because he's never going to be somebody that hits the ball super hard, but he's always going to make contact. And like I said, you make contact and good things happen.
Yes. We're gonna wrap this up with one note. We mentioned it earlier. That's why one, you have patience with prospects. Also, do there's a certain reason why some guys are AAA doesn't. It's not a knock on Anthony Siegler. He's now 7 for his last 43. In his last 11 games. Chris Cotillo just put that out there. This is not a shot at Siegler. Siegler's great depth to have, but expect him to be your franchise second baseman after a couple of weeks of good games.
I
did have BABIP luck as well.
I genuinely love Anthony Siegler. He's the man, and I do think he's like a very good bench player. It's nothing against him. It's just
thinking he's going to be your franchise second baseman or a guy with a first round pick and a top 10 prospect.
It's just fans getting their stomachs getting too big for their eyes getting too big for their stomachs, where it's like, just be happy in the moment. And
also, can Chris Cotillo please stop tweeting this shit out before it happens? Like, can he chill, dog? At the very least for me, because I might be really far behind, might just be my Nessun app, but brother.
What? Oh, like the at-bat already happened?
Yeah, okay. Chris Cotillo tweeted it out, and I still had to see the pitch before Cedon single.
I mean, do you have his notifications on?
Yes, unfortunately.
Just turn his notifications off during the game.
Yeah, but then that's too much.
Don't get mad at him for that.
No, because I'm going to need to turn them back on, and that's especially because Jordan and I are doing our deadline live stream.
I'm on his side on this one. You can't get mad
at deadline day. No. I'm not saying he's wrong for it, but actually, this is more so what Twitter needs. Twitter needs a way to make it so there's only select post that you get notifications for. I should be able to put in keywords. If a post says breaking, if it says sign, if it says trade, if it says any of the keywords I put in, show it to me as a notification. That's what I need. Because turning them on and off is kind of a pain in the butt. Then you forget who you've turned them off for, who they're on for. It's a whole mess. But regardless, where was I? I don't even know anymore. Oh yeah, deadline. Jordan and I will be live for the trade deadline. Tentatively scheduled. That stream is tentatively scheduled for noon. It will be happening. It's just whether or not it'll be starting at noon is still up for grabs. Looks like it'll be noon for now, though. So if you're still listening and you love the Pesky Report and you just want more of us, Jordan and I have done it the last 2 years. I think the first year we were on for 7 hours and 45 minutes. Last year I think we passed the 8-hour mark even potentially. So it's gonna be a long one. It's gonna be fun. Join us for that. And as always, for Hunter, my name is Derek. Thanks for tuning into the Minor League Show, and we'll see you next time.
This is called the Pesky Report.